Hello and welcome to 360 Gamercast, episode 726 for Tuesday the 8th of April 2025. I'm your host Mark Webb, gamertag Pearson under the Steam ID Webby 360G, and joining me today is...
I'm back again to talk about the Nintendo Switch and all the positivity that's come from that press conference. It's Nick.
And Sensei Switch, not Nintendo Switch.
Oh, there we go. So... big news this week, obviously, guys I just mentioned, Switch 2, announcement of games, release date, and prices, which we'll get into a bit more shortly, because there's some hefty discussion going around about prices. But myself and Darren watched the Nintendo conference live. Did you watch it live, Nick? I know you were talking about it with us in the WhatsApp group, but me and Darren were watching it together on Discord at the time.
Yeah, well, I was working 2 till 10, so I got to work and then immediately decided to do nothing. So I watched it about 15 minutes behind you lot. So sort of live. Live. I was about 15, 20 minutes behind, so close enough to being live.
Yeah, when I was watching it live... Me and Switch were feeling pretty positive on it, actually, with a lot of the stuff that they talked about, and we'll get into it in a bit more detail in a minute.
Yeah, I was really positive. I was talking to you guys in WhatsApp and Discord, like, after posting screenshots and like, oh yeah, I'll have one. And then we were talking about Shop 2, weren't we? Maybe putting down a, register for your pre-order type thing. Yeah,
so... just a couple of things. I know Nick's got a majority of the notes because I've been really busy this weekend, so I've not had a chance to put many notes down this week. But just a couple of the positive things that really stuck out to me. And I know, like, I saw in the Discord that people were moaning, it's very much like the Xbox 360 stuff, blah, blah, blah. So the things and these are things that stood out to me, though, which were really cool. It's nice to see that Nintendo finally caught up in regards to party chat. And
yeah, took them long enough, didn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You know, they've always been really far behind on that. But what I like about this one is it reminds me a little bit of On Live in a weird way, where you can get into a party chat, and they showed it, the video, where you could watch your friends' games being played at the same time on the bottom of the screen.
Kind of like a Discord video call where you share your screen type thing, and like one at the top and everyone else at the bottom. So it I don't know if it didn't look very good, like the quality of the videos, did it?
No, it was like 10 FPS.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's deliberate, because you wouldn't want your game to go slow just to see that at the bottom. I think that's just letting people know. I think it's just a rough idea what you're doing. You could, like you say, you wouldn't want your screen to go funny, would you?
No.
And maybe, and I think also, like, I think if you just watched their screen and what didn't have anything on your screen, that maybe it would be perfect quality or close to perfect quality, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they're being honest that it might run lower resolution and frame rates live, because imagine if they showed it running perfectly and then people started using it and it was choppy as hell and only ran at 10 frames per second.
Yeah, but I mean, looking at the positives, I know people were saying, they finally, all this stuff was happening in the 360, etc. But look where we are with, and this is my thought process on it, and why I got a little bit excited was, look where we are now with consoles. We've gone backwards in that kind of social regard, because you look back at the 360 in particular, party chat was massive. No, we didn't have the video sharing that the Switch has, which I quite like that feature. I think that looks pretty cool. But, it's not really a forefront in console gaming anymore, is that party chat, and they've got that camera add-on as well that you can get and do you can video chat with your friends as well. I just got flashbacks of playing Uno on the Xbox 360 and witnessing windmills.
Yeah, sorry about that, mate. I didn't realise it was you, Webby.
But no,
Saying
I
that,
think
mine was more of a light switch than a windmill. So.
but I actually quite like this that they're pushing more the social side of gaming. Because the Switch has always been a really good console for like that couch co-op experience, which I don't think that's ever going to go away. But adding that to the online in a more easy way, I think is pretty cool. No matter what you think, other consoles have done it in the past, the fact they're doing it now, I think is really, really cool. You have a specific button on your controller, the C button.
Yeah, the C button with the added C button.
Yeah, and you can press that, bring up your party chat, do your video sharing or whatever. I just think it's cool. I can't think of any negatives in that really.
Yeah. At least they haven't just copied 360. They've put videos, and I don't know if you have to use their proprietary web camera. It wouldn't surprise me. They'll probably get some third-party ones eventually.
Well, I have seen there is a third-party one, Nick, already announced, and it's in the shape of a piranha plant.
Oh, nice. I mean, I wouldn't have either, but, whether or not you could just use a Logitech or something. But I like the idea that it can put you in the game, but it does like that virtual green screen thing, so it doesn't see behind you. That's kind of cool, so they can't see where you are type thing.
A little bit like the Kinect. Or the
can't see all the bodies in your bedroom and that.
Plus, like if they allow Twitch streaming, then you can Twitch stream these games without needing anything else apart from your console and the camera, can't you?
Yeah.
If you see what I mean, that's a nice way into that. If people are into that, but I like it. Nothing really negative to say about it. I mean,
no, it
also it's I don't know if it's everything, but they did say that it was going to be free to everyone until the end of March next year.
Or the online, or
yeah, it's going to be for Switch 2 only. It's going to be on. Well, it said game chat, so I don't know if it's just game chat or multiplayer. I would assume it's everything because I don't know how you wouldn't be able to use game chat if you weren't online, were you?
Yeah, that's right. I mean? Yeah,
if you didn't have, so I assume it just says game chat free until the 31st of March 2026. So they're letting you try it for free, which is nice because if you buy it in June, you're going to get almost a year.
Yeah,
free online. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Because then people could see if it works or not.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's really cool. But I just think those just those few features in particular, with the pushing the social side of it, the game chat, party chat, whatever you call it, the video stuff. We'll get into prices in a minute. Obviously, the camera's a extra add-on that's not cheap by any means. But it just made me laugh because the technology of putting you in the games, and they did mention that some games are going to have upgrades which put you in like Mario Party Jamboree and stuff. But it just reminded me of the Kinect, but also kind of reminded me of like the PS3 Vision camera or whatever the fuck it was called. The PS3 camera. Do you remember the live vision camera on the 360 as well? Yeah. But no, I think it's cool. So, yeah. I really like that. I mean, do you want to talk about prices now or get into prices shortly?
I'd like just because that'll lead on to Moaning, won't it? So we talk about the. Do you want me to just go through the specs of the machine quickly?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. Well, so it's gone. Well, it depends on. It's gone up from a 7-inch screen on the OLED version to a 7.9, but it's gone back to LCD, not OLED. So a few people are upset.
The only thing we moaned about, pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah. Which I kind of get it, but then it's gone up to 1080p from 720p. It's got HDR. And it's also got 120 hertz, so like a little bit other than OLED, it's a better, like it's got better insides than the Steam Deck, kind of, because I think the Steam Deck's only 800p. I mean, Nintendo, they're always iffy with the actual specs of the machine, so I don't know if it's more powerful than the Steam Deck, but it's obviously going to be a lot more powerful than the original Switch because it's 8 years old. But yeah, and
what I don't understand, Nick, sorry to interrupt, is
no, go
on. Looking at the swell, because I'm watching the video again, the trailer video at the minute, and it really boggles my mind why they haven't gone for OLED this time, because there was a massive push to go from LCD to OLED for the original Switch. And you look at a picture of the Switch now, right, the Switch 2, there's a huge border around that LCD screen. So I can pretty much guarantee you that in about a year or so's time, they're going to announce an OLED version of the Switch 2, which fills in that whole border as well.
Yeah, so that'll be like an 8.5-inch OLED.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine, because Steam Deck came out LCD, and now they've gone OLED. I think the cheap one, you could still get LCD while stock lasts. But can you imagine if they announce the Steam Deck 2 and they go back to LCD? That doesn't...
Yeah, it's a strange choice, and as I say, the only reason I can see them doing that choice is so they can sell you an OLED version in about a year or so's time.
Well, like I said, we might get onto that a lot. We will get onto that a lot more later. This is like problem number one. I mean, to be honest, for the actual press conference itself,
it was good.
That was probably the only negative thing for the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. And
Sony were the opposite. The early models of the PSP and the Vita both had the best screens.
Yeah, and then they made them cheaper.
They made them cheaper.
Oh, yeah, but they're going to do... That's what gets me. They're going to bring out a Switch 2 Lite with an LCD. So it just... we wouldn't have cared then, would we? Because if it was a cheaper Switch 2 and it had the LCD, we'd have gone, fair enough, it's the cheaper version for the kids, and it's cheaper, so it has to have cheaper components or a cheaper screen. But this is Mark 1 of Switch being twats. Nintendo Switch, not our Switch.
Yeah, well, I think
can be a twat as well.
Well, yeah.
I mean, my other thought on it though, on a positive note, is for those people that use their Switch docked a majority of the time, it doesn't matter what screen you've got on it.
No, exactly. Because I mean, we did say, obviously, I'll get a few more specs. It's got a new dock with a fan, and it will out. Ooh, nice fan to keep it warm. Because can you remember when the first Switch came out? They had a lot of this is bending and cracking. The first few lots of Switches, especially near the little vent at the top. There was a few crackings, so obviously this, I assume this is going to run hotter, but it's got a fan, but it will output in 4K HDR as well.
Hello?
Which is great, because obviously, as far as I'm aware, isn't this the first time Switch or Nintendo have actually gone over 1080, I think?
Yeah, exactly. So there's 4K HDR and also 120 frames per second, but obviously... That's going to be similar to the PlayStation. We're going to get graphics mode and performance mode, whatever Nintendo calls that. But it's options, right?
Yeah, but and the other. Oh, sorry, Darren. You carry on, mate.
No, I was about to say I was actually like quite happy to sort of like see the fact that Nintendo games have always been like very vibrant and colourful and that anyway. And to see them on like a higher resolution, like looking crisper, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
And also, what else we got? It's gone up from 32 gig, which was obviously tiny back then, to 256 internal storage. Which, when you think it's gone up 8 times as much, this is still half the storage of a PS4, which came out in 2013.
Yeah.
So and also, to have another little pop at Nintendo, which I didn't get, you have to use the newer micro SD cards.
Yeah, they're not cheap, are they? Yeah.
They are, well, a lot of them are sold, but they're, I would say, at least double the price of standard ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at 30 quid for a 128 and 80, 90 quid for a 256. So it's not like you could say, oh, I'll just bang a terabyte SD card in and not worry about, that's a 1 terabyte is going to cost you nearly 200 quid for one of those.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
That's like you could get a two terabyte for SSD for like your PS4 or 5.
Exactly.
Sorry,
when we complained at the time how much SSDs were for PS5, I know that was 5 years ago, but how expensive the the expandable slots for the series consoles.
Yeah,
we were moaning how expensive those are still cheaper than what those SD cards are at the moment. Granted, I've only looked on Amazon and My Memory. I don't know if other places will have them cheaper than that, but it's just I don't think that's very. If it has to have that, it has to have that. It's just a little bit anti-consumer. It's not good for us, is it? No. Especially when we found out about what they're doing with the game cards later.
Yeah,
I mean the Vita suffered heavily from blowback from the price of the memory cards for that.
Well, yeah, you needed a memory card, and then everyone thought it was really cheap. But then when you found out about the memory card, it was like another 100 odd quid on top of it. So it was like, and they did, but PlayStation did the same with the PSP as well, didn't they? And then the Vita had completely different cards. So I suppose at least they are using, third-party SanDisk ones. At least they haven't created their own card that you can only buy from Nintendo.
I think you can get them as well, though. I think they have done their own as well.
They've got Nintendo branded. I mean, but when PlayStation did the cards for that, you had to use a specific Vita memory card. You couldn't put an SD card in. That's what I'm saying. So at least you don't have to buy from Nintendo. You can buy a SanDisk one, which will probably be a little bit cheaper.
Yeah,
I think they still do I think SanDisk are still making the ones for the Switch too.
Oh, so yeah, they had like a SanDisk and a Samsung logo with a Mario logo on it as well. So, it's just a little bit iffy because if people have got like a 1 terabyte in their Switch now, they can't just chuck it into the new one, can they?
No, that's right. No, that's a little bit annoying. The one thing I will say that's quite cool about the new dock is it's got a fan in it, as you mentioned, but also it's got an Ethernet port in it. And I do understand that because my dock doesn't have an Ethernet port in it, but I was told that the OLED models does have an Ethernet port. And I just found that I'm glad that the new dock's got an Ethernet port because I wire everything up in my house. Not that I'm going to get one, at least at launch anyway, but it's just good to know. Some of the other things
anything to stop like scratches on the system itself when you're taken in and out of the dock, because that was another moaning point with the original, wasn't there?
Yeah. You'd like to think that they'd... I mean, you got to bang a tempered screen protector on all this stuff anyway, ain't you, from day... I don't know. Have you got one of them on your Steam Deck, Webby?
No. I wish I did, because I scratched the fuck out of it after dropping it.
Because they just bubble up.
And what happened to the Switch that magically was able to play all games? Didn't that get dropped as well?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah, still, you wouldn't expect it to get scratched. Like, if you dropped your Steam Deck and dropped your Switch, that can't be helped. That's not really anyone's fault apart from the person who dropped it. If you're only placing it in the dock where it's supposed to go and it scratches it, that's not on, is it? So you would hope the new dock won't do that.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I would have learned from the past mistakes.
But that's the thing with early adopters with this tech. They'll be something, won't they?
Well, the only positive thing about the launch stuff is it's like with the original Switch. You see, the original systems are easier to mod to run pirated games than the later models.
Yeah,
if you were into that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's nice, but then you've also got it charges from the top and the bottom as well, which is nice because even the OLED ones you could only charge it from the bottom, which meant if you were playing it with the stand, like in handheld mode, you couldn't put the charger in because where the USB port would be, it would be in the way.
Yeah,
I mean they even changed that from the original Switch, didn't they? They made the little kickstand bigger because it was never big enough.
Yeah.
And this one looks beefy and big, so
What?
you know,
Charging
Yeah.
port top and bottom, so obviously if you're trying to play it, or you've got it on the desk, you can't do it if it was obviously the other way up.
Yeah, I mean, they made some weird charging docks for it, so you could do that. But then that's another huge thing to carry around if you want. You know, the whole point of the Switch was just take it, pick it up out of the dock and take it away with you. If you then had to take another adapter to stand it on, if you see it, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's nice. So some things they've done to help.
Yeah.
And anything else we need to talk about the console? Is anyone
the
interested in the... Yeah,
I
go
do.
on then.
So I was about to say, I appreciate the way they worked out the magnet locks for the actual controllers, the way they just snap in.
What, the strong magnets?
Yeah, well, I imagine they are pretty decent.
Yeah, instead of the sliding in from the original one, yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes
done
those slides with the original, you feel like you was going to accidentally break it or crack something. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you get halfway putting the wrong one on the wrong side. You've got to be careful. You know, I've been known to try and put it in the wrong way and get in trouble quite a lot. So, you know, that's nice. And also they're giving you another one of those weird adapter things. But I don't know if this is true because I haven't double checked. But I looked in Smith's today, and I think they did say it, but they were showing like the charge and brick separately for another 25 quid.
No.
Yeah. Well, they had the Switch up there, and then at the bottom they had a couple of the games. They had the new Pro controller. A case was 25, and they had a power cable for 25 quid with that. So now I don't know if that was an extra one, and I wasn't going to ask anyone because there wasn't really anyone on there. They probably wouldn't know anyway. I would assume
it's sold separately.
Yeah, I would assume it. Yeah, but because Apple and Samsung have been doing that with phones, making you pay extra for the brick, I'm pretty sure they did say you get the cable. But I'm just saying, in Smiths they had it advertised either as well as or separately. I don't know. But these are little ones that they've printed in store. They don't look anything official, if you know what I mean. They look like they printed it off like on a cheap printer really quickly.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention about the system itself is that with the Joy-Cons is that they can be used like mice.
Yeah, that
looks really weird. Yeah. Yeah.
And they've upset a few people, like two people on social media, so then everyone gets mad for them. People in wheelchairs, where they were showing off like wheelchair basketball, and they were like moving the little Joy-Cons backwards and forwards as if they're wheelchairs. I know that's just people getting offended for other people. I'm assuming most people who are in a wheelchair couldn't care less.
Yeah, but it's just like that whole... I mean, I know obviously Nintendo are good at doing things different with their peripherals and that, but just like having them as mice, like playing it like a PC, I just find that like kind of an odd decision because you play a console to play it like a console, you know what I mean? Not to like sit at a desk or something like that and use mice with a console like that. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
you can do all three now,
if
can't
you
you?
Get the you do get the odd sort of like top-down strategy game that they just play so much better with mice.
Well, they showed it with Metroid as well. I mean, could you imagine playing... I mean, it's a different way of playing. I mean, you could play handheld mode normally. You could play with a Pro controller on the telly. And if you put that in front of you... I mean, if you had a big mouse pad, Webby, would you even try to play a first-person shooter with those on a mouse pad? I mean, I wouldn't want to scratch them on a... I wouldn't want to scratch a normal desk. I'd use a mouse pad, but I mean, I'd give it a go. I think it'd be a lot of the stuff with Wii and stuff where you try it and then you never do it again.
Yeah.
And then eventually it get no one else, because like, can you remember when PS3 came out and they tried to copy the Wii and they had the PS3, the 6-axis, and they were getting you to like twist the controller in funny ways to make, and everyone tried it for about a year, and then we just ignored it. And I don't think they took it out, but they didn't really. So I remember Uncharted when you used to throw grenades, you used to have to like arch the controller back and then release to like get the grenade, and then by Uncharted 2, you just press the button like you would normally. So
Okay, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, so
I mean, this isn't the first time that the Nintendo's had mouse. They had actually released a mouse for the Super Nintendo.
yeah, they did. Yeah, I can't remember what game it was for.
Alongside a game called Mario Paint.
Oh, there we go. Bit of history there.
yeah. I think, is there anything else about the console we need to talk about, or?
Well, the actual console itself, I think we've gone over quite well, all the way it works and stuff. I'm going to leave it down to you, Nick. Games. You're in charge of this week's podcast, mate. I'm taking a back seat. Yeah, I'm chilling out. So,
all right.
Talk about. So we'll go through. Yeah, go on.
Games. All right, I suppose the first one and the main one, which is the launch title, is Mario Kart World, and it's a lot. It's kind of. I like the look of it, and it's Mario Kart, so it's gonna sell stupid amount. And I'm hearing a lot of people basically saying Mario Kart Forza Horizon.
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is gonna, and a few videos came out after, like people have had hands on, and they've pretty much said, yeah, it's it's Mario Kart Forza Horizon. And obviously, they're not going to say anything negative because they were selected to go to these events and chosen. And you know what, like chosen Nintendo YouTubers are? They tend to tell everyone exactly what Nintendo wants to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Mario Kart and it's Forza, and it looks. It's weird. It looks great, but in my brain, it doesn't look as good or doesn't look much better than the last one.
It's because of the graphical style. You can't, we've said this before with certain games. If you're going for a certain graphical style, outside of increasing the resolution on them, there's not really much you can do. There was games released on like the 360 and stuff, and for the visual style they went for, you can't really beat it. Look at Castle Crashers.
Yeah.
The game looked exactly like the art style it was going for. You can't really improve on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many games this generation that I think couldn't have been on last year. You know, like when I'm talking Xbox and PS5, there's not many where, you know, I know you think, oh, light and AI, ray tracing, all that stuff, but I meant like you said, as an art directional type thing, I don't see anything like why. But maybe it's one of those where if I played this for a month and then tried to go back to normal Mario Kart on the old Switch, I'd be like,
you'll notice,
no, it's one of those. But then it's all the extras. I mean, they were saying like there's so many like open world like collectibles and things like that,
which is what I was hoping for.
Yeah, if we've got, I mean, I don't know if they'd copy Forza exactly when it comes to like barn finds and like what the board's called, Webby. I mean, just the boards.
Oh, you're on about the boards from like Burnout and stuff, and
well, no, like when you actually have to hit the boards. And
the XP boards and things,
XP, and all things like some of them are, and things like. I mean, they could do something like that. I mean, I'd like Nintendo to not just copy Horizon, but do it better. I mean, they've added a little jump button, and you can like grind in it, like kind of like
I did see that.
Set radio, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's slightly different. And it's just weird because the last Mario game, especially if you play online, it's very tricky and competitive. And whether it's true, I don't know, but everyone is on the bikes because apparently you get a big advantage being on a bike than you do in a car.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, everyone, if you play online, everyone's on a bike all the time.
Oh.
So... But yeah, and also, like, I don't know because, I mean, I want to play this again, like the normal one. And not only Mario Kart, but Mario Kart's one of the worst games ever I found for rubber banding, where you'll be first.
It's basically socialism, the game, isn't it?
I get it.
If you're doing shit and you're in last place, all of a sudden you'll just be fired all the way up to like.
Yeah, and you'll get all the good stuff. I assume it'll be the same, but yeah, I mean, I would want this game, and we'll talk about more the price later, but it's not like, I mean, Mario Kart, the last one, came out in 8 years ago. So it's not like if we have this game for another 8 years, paying what they're asking doesn't seem as bad when you think during that time you'll probably get 2 Horizon games and 2 normal Forza games, if you see what I mean, Webby. So does that make the price sound a little bit better?
Well, the current Mario Kart game that's out at the moment was originally on the Wii U.
Yeah, and then it got, yeah. Yeah, but I'm just saying it came out in 2017 on the Switch. Because what's it called? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah.
Deluxe, yeah. So it went from just 8 to Deluxe. So, but if this game lasts another 7, 8 years, that's not bad, really, is it?
Mm.
I wouldn't expect them to start bringing a new Mario Kart out every 2 years.
Well, the thing is that, I mean, they have copied Forza in quite a few things. Like, so basically in Forza, there's a mode where you have a race and then you drive to the next race, but you're racing each other to the next race. That's a mode in this new Mario Kart. Obviously, you've got the whole open world of the different zones. You can just drive around with your friends online, which I think is actually pretty cool, actually, to be fair. Yeah. I think the whole premise of the Mario Kart game sounds really cool because it has like your classic modes as well, but also obviously this new open world.
Does it just have a Grand Prix as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know if it had a Grand Prix as well. I'm happy because then you've got both, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, it looks great.
This will be the only Mario Kart game for the Switch too.
It's
literally just going to be like, right, there's your Mario Kart, and then we'll just support it for years to come with, like, because they did with the last one, didn't they? Like you said.
And then they brought out the pass as well, which over a couple of years, which for what you got and how, the amount, they didn't take the piss, did they? If you know what I mean. I think it was like 20
the extra
quid.
maps, the extra tracks.
Yeah, and they released. I mean, there's a lot of extra maps in there. Whereas, like I said, other game companies would have just released a Mario Kart 9 with those maps and charged you full price again.
Yeah.
So which they have done. A lot of companies will, but like the Game of the Year edition or the Ultimate edition with all the DLC, but it's good and hopefully. Nintendo hasn't gone down there too much yet, hopefully, because there's a lot of different carts and different skins for all the characters, and hopefully that's all in-game and it's not DLC.
Yeah, I'd hate to see Nintendo go down the Fortnite route with a first-party title like that. I think that would be quite scummy, to be honest.
Well, they kind of already went, because I remember years back when we were like, oh no, Nintendo are great, they don't need season passes or DLC or updated content and stuff for their games. You just buy the game and it's all in there. And then literally with like the Wii U and later on the Switch, it was just like, we're doing that for all our first-party games as well.
But yeah, that looks a good game, and you can get it as a pack in for slightly cheaper if you bought them separately. But I'm pretty sure if me and Switch buys this, we're going to buy them separately, aren't we? Like, you want the case with the cartridge and the...
Or do I?
Oh, no.
Well, no, it's in the fact that we'll get to that later on.
We'll get to that.
Or do I even buy it, like, full stop?
Well, yeah, exactly. Right, so then the next big game I suppose we got to was... Donkey Kong Bonanza, which looks decent because we haven't had a proper 3D Mario Kart game since Odyssey, and I'd rather play Donkey Kong because we haven't had a proper 3D open world Donkey Kong since N64. I think we've had a lot of 2D ones, but I don't think we've had a full. And this does look like Donkey Kong Odyssey. If you know what I mean, that's sort of what it looks like. And this is coming this isn't a launch title. This is the end of July, I think.
It's not long after, is it? It's like a month or two.
Which is nice. I mean, that not only that, it keeps games coming. And like, if they release both of these at launch, and you're also spending 500 quid for the console or whatever and the games, you might have to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
If you see, whereas this way, you can get the console and a game, and then 6-7 weeks later, they know you've been paid again, and you could then buy it. and it gives you time to play one before you get the other. So, I mean, I really like the look of this. I mean, there's a few more of these Nintendo Direct tree houses over the next couple of weeks showing you more about these games. I think there's one for this next week and a Mario Kart one. So, you know, they're quite good that they actually show the trailers and then they'll have a half an hour, 45 minutes thing actually showing you the game.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. What about you, Darren? Do you think you'd get this one if you were to get a Switch? Does it seem?
Donkey Kong. It's pretty cool. Yeah, looked good and fun. I didn't get Odyssey obviously on the Switch. It was just one of those ones I didn't get around to.
Yeah, I mean you could play it on the Switch too now, can't you? If you did buy one. But
I think that's a no.
No, he's not interested. He doesn't like Mario.
Am I muted?
Well, you might.
Yeah, I think you muted. Yeah, you weren't talking.
Oh, right, no, I was saying, I'll probably pick it up because I didn't get Odyssey.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, you cut out just before you said that. But yeah, Donkey Kong looks decent and it'll have that Nintendo thing. And obviously, you'll go bananas trying to collect all the bananas like you did on N64.
There we go.
Yeah, and then I suppose the next one, which this has been in development hell for ages, like Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And I think they used this game to show off like the two difference in like performance and quality mode. You know, because they were showing you like 1080p at 120 frames per second or 4K at 60. And I was like, I'd like to see Digital Foundry have a look at this before, because most of the PS5 games don't do 60 frames per second and 4K, do they, Webby?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know how Nintendo. I like I said, I mean, I think Darren's right. It's a different type of art style, but it's only this last 2 or 3 years that I think Nintendo have been putting out games with iffy frame rates. You've never known that with Nintendo, have we, Webby?
Well, it's just because the hardware is just getting a bit long in the tooth
so
now.
hard.
Yeah. You know, it's been going a long time, the Switch, so...
Yeah. I mean, didn't they say that when the Switch came out, it was already underpowered compared to... It wasn't even as powerful as a PS4 when it came out 3 or 4 years after a PS4. So, I mean, that's good. Did any of you two play the Prime games on GameCube and stuff like that?
No. Metroid's not been
one of them.
Really played.
They kind of played a bit weird after playing like your Halos and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like the Metroidvania type, because what was the last one called they brought out? Was it Dread? Metroid Dread on the Switch. Did you play that?
No.
Oh, nobody plays any of these Nintendo games.
Dan played it, I think, and someone else, because they had it in their Game of the Year, I think, the year it came out.
Yeah, but there's not many games where you'd have
I'm sure you played it, Webby, actually.
That doesn't ring a bell, mate. Is that the side one?
It's a 2D side-scroller, yeah.
Oh,
and you was being pursued by something throughout.
Oh, yes, it's coming back to me. I didn't play much of it, but I did give it a bosh, yes.
Is that where you borrowed it from a friend?
Indeed.
When you didn't pay and then gave it back? Yeah. Right, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, this looks nice. It's just been I mean, I think this was announced like when they announced the Switch. I think this has been like 6 or 7 years in development hell and restarted several times.
Wow.
But it'd be nice to see when this come out. And obviously, I think this is one of the this is coming out on Switch 1 and Switch 2.
Is it one of those ones that has a Switch 2 upgrade pack?
I don't know. Well, there's a lot of stuff I don't know.
We'll talk about those as well in a bit, shall we?
This is what nobody really knows how this is going to work, because there's a lot. But, I mean, what else we got? I mean, this one I'm looking forward to. Pokemon Legends E&A, which, from what I gathered, it was kind of like normal Pokemon, but they've mixed with Legends Arceus type thing.
Right.
So, and the last few Pokemons, I think, haven't sold that well, and they haven't run that well either.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
But, you know, it's the new Pokemon, and hopefully it plays well, and, yeah, it's another new Pokemon. This is coming out towards Christmas, I think.
Right, yeah.
But this is another one. It works on both as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be available on both because, yeah, they announced this before the Switch 2, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, you're not really interested in Pokemon anymore, are you, Webby? Not
No,
really
but my kids are well into it. They've got loads of the cuddly toys. They play the card game as well. But they've never really got into any of the actual Switch games. I think they just find them a bit boring. But yeah, and I don't give a toss. So
fair enough. And yeah, I mean, I'll just go through just a few of them quickly. Basically, EA are supporting it with Madden and FIFA, which is nice because obviously I think Nintendo have had problems in the past with third parties not wanting to support. I think the Wii U was one where didn't EA and Ubisoft pull out like really quickly supporting it? I think they've released a few games for the Wii U and then pulled out. So it's good to know that you've got Madden, FIFA, you've got the 2K games. Whether or not there'll be good versions of them, probably not. They'll probably be just quick ports and they'll probably just update the shirts every year in FIFA, but it's nice to know they're supporting it. And there's been a few remakes, I say remakes, they're just ports.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, do you want to play it again, Webby, or are you going to play it on the Steam Deck?
I'm quite happy. I've played it twice already. Don't need to play it again.
Yeah, and it said remake, but I didn't see Rebirth. So...
No, it's only remake at the minute, yeah.
So...
It's remake with the Yuffie DLC.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, is it Intergrade? Intergrade?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a 5-year-old game. So nice. I mean, if you haven't got a Steam Deck and you only want that, fair enough. But so you've got that and another one, Cyberpunk. That's quite good, I suppose. I mean, that'll test it because everyone loves using Cyberpunk to test graphics cards and frames per second and things like that. I don't know which one, if it's the one with all the DLC or not. I don't know if.
Probably.
I think they said. Well, you would assume it would have all the DLC, wouldn't you?
It's the Ultimate Edition, yeah.
Ultimate, yeah, it is Ultimate Edition. That's nice, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't, but isn't that another 5-year-old game?
Well, it's just over 4 years, I think. When did it come out? December 2020, I think.
Yeah, so 2020. Yeah, so Cyberpunk.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, but obviously these games would have never worked on the Switch one, nowhere near, would they?
No, well, Cyberpunk is still one of those benchmark games on PC. Yeah. So
that's what I said. This will show you how, if the Switch can run this, and I think they were saying that there's going to be 2 modes for this. Quality mode, which is 30 frames per second at 4K, and whatever.
That's still quite impressive that it could do that.
That's what I said. Whether or not it actually does it, that's what we would have to see. And then they were talking, which is weird, the performance mode, which is 1080p and 40 frames per second, which is I've never seen. Yeah, that said 40.
Random.
And random. I've never seen a 40. It's either 30 or 60. I've never seen a 40 type thing. But
you get 40s on sort of balanced modes on a few of the pro games.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I've never been big on that type of thing. I know, Webby, when you play PC, you're a little bit cross-eyed and you're constantly looking in the corner of your screen telling you your FPS, but...
I don't, no, but okay.
Don't do that anymore. Is that just something you do when you get a new graphics card to see that it's doing better, and then you just delete it after a couple of weeks?
No, I just turn it on to tweak a game when I first get it, and then I turn it off because it's too distracting.
Fair enough, makes sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm taking the piss a bit, but I've always thought if it's locked at 30 and locked at 60, and there's no stuttering and slowdown, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
I'd rather it be locked at 30 or 60 than try to get 60 and keep dropping into the 40s, because that seems pointless. But so we've got Cyberpunk, Elden Rings as well. I mean,
I think that's quite good.
That's good. In theory, I mean, I don't know if I'd want to play that in handheld mode. Does that work on the Steam Deck?
I think so. Yeah,
it must do. But then, I mean, I know someone who used to play that and throw a lot of controllers away. You wouldn't want to throw your Switch or Steam Deck on the floor, would you? But yeah, and that type of game, I suppose you've got to be on it. But yeah, Elden Ring's like nice. They're getting some of these games. What else was there? Street Fighter
Street Fighter
6.
6.
Yep, I'll put that one down. I'll put that name with you. Would you like that? Dan, would you play that if you were to buy one? Is Street Fighter the type of game? Because that's that I can have say if you took it to work with you, you could bang out a few fights on your lunch break and then put it back in. So I think a fighting game's really good to have on the Switch. That like a portable.
Yeah, but with that, I don't know because it's tied in with your Capcom ID online bullshit.
Yeah. Plus,
So
are they
would
going
I
to
have
give
to
you?
create a new Capcom ID account? Would it tie to my original Capcom ID account? Would I need to always be online to access the content? But people have actually said, out of most of the games that they've sort of tried out, this has been one of the ones that's impressed them the most.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Because it actually performs better on the Switch 2 than it does on the Series S.
Wow.
So there's a lot of games that are basically going to have a Series S version, and from what this proves is the Switch 2 version should be better than the Series S.
Well, I can safely say from experience that Street Fighter 6 runs like arse on the Steam Deck, so...
Yeah. But with something like that, especially a fighting game, you need that to run smooth, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
And with you don't need nothing like that. You don't need input lag or anything like that. That needs to run sweet. And plus, I saw someone was talking about it on one of my streams. I mean, wishful thinking. They were hoping that you could just log into your Capcom ID, and let's just say you had Street Fighter 6 and you bought loads of season passes and characters. That it just I mean, I can't see why they couldn't do that. The characters you've unlocked or bought, and you could cross save and stuff like that.
No, because it won't do that because all the characters are in the Switch 2 version.
Yeah, but I meant in future updates type thing.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna. I don't know if they're doing any more passes after year 2. They might try and linger another one out, I guess.
Or is it going to be Street Fighter 6 Ultimate Edition with another load of stuff? Probably. I mean, what have they called that? Years 1 and 2 Fighters Edition. Street Fighter 6, but I mean that's nice. There's getting more games. What else we got? This one's upset a few people. Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, I think that's quite good.
Why does this upset people?
Because
because J.K. Rowling.
No, fuck no. Normal controversy, not bullshit. Obviously this came out on PS5 Series X. And then it got delayed to the standard PS4 and Xbox versions later. And then the Switch, there's already a Switch 1 version of this out, which came out, I want to say, almost a year late after this. And it runs like fucking trash on the Switch 1. I'd imagine
it's a taxing game.
Yeah, it runs like crap. They've replaced everything. So people are like... so people have bought this game on Switch, and they're like, so you're finally bringing out the version that you wanted to bring, which is, as far as the Switch 2 version is close to PS5 and Series X, very close. So, but there's no free update or paid update. It's just buy the game again. So that's upset a few people, one person I know who owns it, and someone else on Twitter wasn't happy, but... It's just, I mean, I suppose we'll get into all the bit in a little while with all the upgrades and what we can upgrade and what we can't, but I can't think of any more games. I haven't really got any more games. Any games you guys want to talk about?
There was a huge revealed game at the end that blew a lot of people away, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I skipped that. The Dustblood, the Dustbloods.
Dustbloods, yeah.
Yeah, which
that's
everyone
the
is...
Elden Ring type game, eh?
Everyone's calling it Bloodborne 2 because when I saw this, I was like, "Is that Bloodborne? Is that Bloodborne 2?" Because people have been desperate for Bloodborne for 10 years now, 2015, and it looks very Bloodborne-esque. So spiritual successor maybe, and I don't know. Switch, is this a Switch exclusive or is this on everything? Or
this is a Switch exclusive.
So the people who bought a PlayStation to play Bloodborne have a PlayStation exclusive, and now got to buy a Switch to buy the next one, possibly.
And Bloodborne sold a lot of PS4s.
It did, and they've been desperate to get this on PC or an upgrade, because I think this is still like the most played like Soulsborne game on PlayStation even today. More people are playing that than the other ones.
Isn't this like kind of an online game though? Like a PvP.
Yeah, I've heard it's like a bit of PvP stroke.
I think that's with it. I think Dark Souls did that a bit where you could play co-op and two of you could attack them together. So very similar, but yeah,
I'm not entirely too sure. If it is like mainly PvP focused, then this will be a skip from me.
Okay, so
ignore that.
I just found something on the Nintendo website. Miyazaki, the creator, says, in terms of structure, we consider it a PvPvE title. At its core is an online multiplayer-focused game with both player versus player and player versus enemy gameplay.
So does this mean it's an online-only game?
Oh, it will be, won't it? Surely.
Which means it's going to have a shelf life.
Of course.
I don't know.
That's a massive shame.
I mean, considering Nintendo's never really... Sorry, mate, carry on.
No, I was about to say, it's like someone baking a beautiful-looking cake and inside it's full of shit.
A lot of people like these type of games, though, don't they? So...
Well, not so much the always online and the PvP aspects. Like, it's fine to have those games and have the PvP in them as an option, like the invasions and all that kind of stuff. But no one's crying out for an always online PvP Souls game.
Yeah, options. You want that. If you want that, great. If you want to be left the hell alone and just put your feet up and play by yourself, you can. It's to force you to do online all the time. Plus, then you've got to have a Nintendo online all the time as well, ain't you? Whereas your Fortnites and stuff like that, you don't need to.
Maybe this is what Nintendo was after, because you're going to need to give Nintendo money to access the online part to be able to play the game full stop. So it's like, if anyone buys your game, they've got to give us money on top of it as well. Yeah, everyone wins.
Yeah. Well, Nintendo don't really do much stuff for greed, do they?
Well, it's... Anyway, is that all the games anyway? Because
I mean, there's been a load more, which we'll get onto. They've announced a lot of the Switch One games are getting like upgrades. Some of them are getting free upgrades. I know Mario Odyssey is one of them.
Right.
A couple of other ones. So some of them are getting free upgrades. Some of them are getting paid for upgrades as well, and it's it's very weird because apparently and also some of them are getting upgrades at the moment you can only get with the Nintendo Online expansion pass thing.
Yeah. So
it's like, 3 different versions. So it's a bit difficult to know which games get updates and which games don't. And yeah, so as far as I'm aware, the 2 Zelda games, the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they're paid for updates, and we still don't know if you get the expansion pass included that you got. So people don't even know that yet. There's a lot of stuff no one knows, but they've given you an app that you can use as well, so you can look at the map on your phone whilst playing the game. I'm like, cool.
Big whippy dippy do, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I think this is when we're going to start criticising Nintendo. This is everything we've learned pretty much after the conference, because I mean, we've all said we were happy with the actual conference, apart from no OLED screen. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well,
and
at the conference, just on this note, when they announced the paid-for upgrade packs, because other systems, Xbox especially, have been very good at providing stuff like that free of charge.
Xbox just gave you all these upgrades for nothing, and PlayStation were charging you. First, they said they were free, and then they started charging you a tenner.
Yeah.
And now they've just full on just remade the game. Give us another 70 quid, you loser type thing, haven't they?
Yeah, that's right.
So, and Xbox is still letting you do it on both. So, you know, but then Xbox are struggling. Well, I say struggling, you know, if you would go on console sales and opinion, they are the third best console, if you know what I mean. So they kind of have to be pro-consumer because they want your money.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got very confusing, and I've tried to make sense of it. And
yeah, so like with Mario Party Jamboree, you got to pay like 15 quid to upgrade it to use the Switch 2 version, which uses the camera, which is another 50 quid for the camera, so you can put your face in the game and add a couple of more mini games.
Webby? Because you've been playing Mario Party, haven't you?
Jamboree a lot.
Yeah.
I was playing it just for the podcast actually with the kids. No, I mean, if I was getting a Switch 2, yeah, but, you know, I might as well talk about price a little bit just from my perspective.
Oh, yeah, they also didn't announce the price of the console at the event.
No.
They put it online, and it took 10, 15 minutes to get on the website to find out, and it's weird. It's, what, $396.99 for the base console and 430 quid with a digital copy of Mario Kart World. So, are we happy with the price?
It's roughly what I expected, like I suppose, like around the 400 mark.
I was hoping it a little bit cheaper, but I was thinking they should have been 350, considering the last one was like, you know, 280, and the OLED 3. You know, I always thought Nintendo sold as well as they did because they were always that little bit cheaper than PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah.
You know, that's me personally. I don't know if anyone else, you know, because I noticed PS5s are actually 400 quid now.
Yeah.
So if you were if you had to say, Webby, if your mates at work or whatever said, "Oh, I'll buy my kid a console for Christmas, should I buy him a £400 Nintendo Switch too, or shall I get him a PS5 for 400 quid?" What would you say get?
Well,
you see what I mean? Whereas before, it was a lot, like before when it was 450 for a PS5 or 500 and the Switch was 280, it's a no-brainer, and it was almost half the price. And for them to charge almost the same price as a PS5, I think it's a bit dangerous.
Well, I've got some different opinions to you, to be honest.
Go on then, mate, go on.
First of all, I want to say hello to Brooksy, who's joined the Twitch. Hello, Brooksy. Hope you're doing well. I don't think the console price is actually that bad, to be honest, because you think you're getting a screen. It's a handheld system, right? It's more powerful than a Steam Deck. The Steam Deck's roughly a similar price anyway.
I don't know if it's more powerful, but I know it's better screen.
I looking at just at the games, how they're running in the videos, I predict it's going to be more powerful than a Steam Deck for sure. That's just how I feel about it. What has put me off it, though, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, it's not the price of the system itself. It's the price of the games and the peripherals and having to subscribe to an online service like what Xbox and PlayStation do to get access to game chat and stuff like that. That's the main off-put for me. Because the system, I could deal with that if the game prices were sensible. But 80 quid for a copy of Mario Kart, in my opinion, is just it's too pricey for me. You know.
Yeah, and also, I sort of agree. I mean, it's slightly different over here to what we've got in like with America, but I mean, I've saw them online here. They're 75 quid for the physical.
Still a lot of money,
for some
man.
reason. Yeah,
so that's actually reasonable. So they have actually realised what an exchange rate is.
Maybe, but I don't. Well,
unlike
we've got other things, but
like Microsoft and Sony.
Yeah, but also you've got to remember, Nintendo games never drop in price. You know, I looked in there today, like I say, in Smiths, they've got Mario Kart in there, 55 quid. They've got both Zelda games in there for 50 and 55 quid. You know, they've got Mario, what was the latest Mario? The Wonder?
Was it Wonder or the Brothership? The Brothership one, wasn't it?
No, I meant the sort of two, the last Mario, not the Mario and Luigi. But anyway, that was full price. You know, so we're talking 8-year-old Zelda game launch title is still 55 quid today. So these games that are 75 quid are still going to be 75 quid no matter what. So it's not like you can say, oh, you know, to like some of the kids and stuff, well, I can't afford to buy brand new games, but I'll buy them when they go on sale. Like when we were younger, Webby, can you remember we used to like, you'd have like platinum games for like 20 quid, half price?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Nintendo don't do, they did start doing a classics thing on the 3DS, making games cheaper, like 10, 15 years ago, but they don't do that anymore. So Nintendo games will be that price forever. And I mean, I don't know if you like it, Darren, but the fact that it should be the case, but the digital games are cheaper than physical.
Yeah, they should be.
I know they
I've
should be, but no one's ever done
said
it.
that.
Yeah, but no one's ever done it before, have you? They've charged the same.
But you will still probably end up being able to get hold of the physical copies cheaper than the digital copy because
but not on. I know, but I'm saying we can do that on Xbox and PS5. We've never been able to do that on Nintendo.
You can go to an online retailer and get a Nintendo game cheaper than what you can get it digitally. Like
you do
in general, anyway.
Some games. I mean, I think if it sells poorly, I think Mario RPG you could get for about 30, 35 quid sometimes. But the good, like I say, Zelda is always 55 quid. So, yeah. I mean, if they were charging 70 and so on, we'll see eventually. But I just think because Nintendo games were 55 and PS5 games, this is my opinion, and were 70, they could have said, we'll just copy them and do 70, and no one would have really complained because, well, PlayStation have already done it, Xbox have copied a bit, it's just what it is. But for them to go £5 over for us, and in America, $20 over for 90, it just seems really stupid and greedy. You know, they could have charged the same and charged £15 more, gone from 55 to 70 quid, and no one would have given shit. But for them to go over what PlayStation are charging, and now people are saying, oh, well, now PlayStation's going to bump their games up to 80 quid.
The reason PlayStation put their games up anyway is because they spend stupid amounts of money on their first party.
Yeah, I don't think Nintendo spend that, do they?
Hasn't been doing particularly great.
Yeah, I don't think Nintendo spend that type of money on their games because it's a different.
They probably do it for about half the price.
Yeah, the same as like we were talking about, like all these expansion passes for. I think Zelda Breath of the Wild. I think it's their biggest selling Zelda game ever. I think it sold like 36 million copies of it down there. So if like 10% of people buy this upgrade, which is a tenner, you know, that's 360 million quid. You know, that's more than they probably ever spent to make the game. And they're doing that for what? Up-res in frame rate, graphics, and HDR. And they want 306, you know, and that's just 10% of people if they upgrade. Not to mention the people who buy the game from new again. Do you see what I mean when you think what people pay? But I don't know. What do you think? Have you really said much about the price? You said it's too much, but
yeah, I mean, I've always found Nintendo games too much anyway. I mean, I've not really been a massive Nintendo gamer for quite a few years, but obviously I've got kids and they love the Switch, and I don't blame them. It's got a lot of fun games, but I don't know. In this day and age, where you know people have a lot less disposable income now, especially in the UK, you know, buying a game is quite a big, you know, it's quite a big decision these days. You know, with monthly budgets and things, and you know, I usually wait. Well, one of the reasons I went to PC was, you know, to buy games off CD keys because they're like 30 quid or whatever. That's kind of my maximum at the minute, unless unless it's a game I must have, you know what I mean? And I'll succumb and spend like 50 or whatever. But I think 75 quid for a Mario game yeah, it's probably going to be awesome and last you a long time, but I just think it's a lot of money for a video game. And I know people will always use the argument, well, in the 90s, you were paying £80 plus for a Super Nintendo game, and in today's money, that would be like £200. And I get that, but, you know, it's still a lot of money for a hobby, a bit of entertainment, in my opinion. You know, and that's just a personal thing because it is a luxury item because...
Yeah, luxury in a toy, isn't it?
Yeah, because, you know, I've got 2 little kids, you know, I'm trying to run, you know, I've got a family, you know, that's a lot of money to me out of my monthly budget, whereas someone who's probably 20, single and lives at home with their mum and dad and has a full-time job, you know, they're probably like, oh, yeah, it's fine, I'll buy a couple of them a month. But for the average Joe, you know, as you say, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, what about you, Darren? Do you agree? Like, I mean, I refuse the whole inflation argument. What do you think about on like the price and the inflation and stuff like that?
Well, obviously, no one's going to be happy with prices going up in general, as far as it sort of goes. Like I said before, the digital being cheaper than physical just makes sense. That's always made sense to me. You're literally paying for something that's worthless when you're buying a digital copy, so you can't lend it, you can't sell it on. So why are you paying the same price as what a physical copy is? But
do you think they're doing that with the price because they would rather it just all be digital?
Oh, this is why you get like games now that like have certain editions that you can only get digitally.
Oh, what's
so
about
like,
this new...
you want this game, and it's like there's an edition, and you get this and that and that, and you get it with the digital deluxe edition, and you won't get it with the physical copy. Also, if you want to pre-order the digital version of this, you'll get 4 days early access before the plebeians, and that's only available on digital versions as well. Like the industry is blatantly trying to force more things to digital. I mean, it will eventually go that way. They'll just end up losing a bunch of customers.
But the thing is, though, Darren, have you noticed that, like, all the bigger companies online, like the IGNs and all that, they keep telling us it's the future and it's going to be a great future because when we go all digital and cut out the middleman, games will be cheaper. Do you believe that?
No, games will keep going up in price because as soon as you give a company complete control over their product, they get to dictate the exact price of it and how much you pay for it. Whereas if they're selling a product physically that goes to other stores, they sell it to the stores at a set price, and then those stores then judge what they want to sell it at to make what profit they want to make from it.
Yeah. Plus, like I said,
or they could be like Game and try and charge the same thing and basically just fuck themselves out of business because no one wants to pay full RRP for a game when you can just buy it digitally or whatever for the same price and not have to leave your house to go down and get it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like when we talk about price and stuff like that, and like physical, it should cost more than digital because there's a thing. But when they talk about like inflation and stuff like that with games, I'm like, that inflation is just a very, like one way thing. Oh, because of inflation, this is this. I'm like, yeah, but the infrastructure of video games today is completely different to what it was in the 80s and 90s. Games are made, like actual put together worldwide. Like up until like 10 years ago, you only made like games in the UK. I think that was only in one place for the entire UK. Now there's about 10 or 15 different places. I think
mainly Liverpool, wasn't it?
There was one in Liverpool. I think there was one in Guernsey, and I think most of Europe were only made in Germany for pretty much the entire of Europe, like games. And also back then, you look at the size of the game cases, especially the cartridges, like the big boxes, the cartridges, the instructions booklets and stuff, whereas now it's one piece of paper printed into a slipcover. Pretty much all they use the same size cases as like DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that. And back then, if you wanted to make a load of games, you had to pay all up front in bulk to make it worthwhile this company making your product. And the more you bought, the cheaper it was, kind of thing, if you know what I mean, if you ordered in bulk. Whereas today, they can stop and just, let's just bang out another 5,000 copies of this. Okay, just press a button. Okay, let's bang out another 6,000 copies of this. Whereas before, they used to have to near enough stop for so much time and lose production to make the games and do all that.
Well, in
and
the
also,
90s and that, but before CDs were a thing, cartridges were very expensive to make.
Yeah, exactly, mate. And also, each of those cartridges, there would be 2 or 3 different versions of these cartridges. Now you've got a CD. Whether it's Blu-ray or not, it's a disc. Everything is a disc now. I know these are cartridges, which we'll talk about what cartridges are available in a minute. But that's what I'm saying. And also, distribution. It's a lot cheaper to deliver to these shops in vans and posts and stuff like that than what it used to be. So it doesn't cost as much to make the game. So to say, because of inflation, it has to be more. There's a lot of variables in that reason, because why is it that there's stuff that costs that in the 90s, if you want to buy today, has gone down in price?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that were really expensive then that is cheaper now than it was in the 90s, because the infrastructure has made it be cheaper and they can sell it to us cheaper and be happy. So, I mean, Nintendo can sell it whatever they want. They'll sell it what they think they can get away with. I just don't like using inflation as like a conversation ender that you can't have an opinion on price.
Well, what I find quite interesting, Nick, is the prices they sell their consoles and games at in Japan itself is like half the price of Europe.
Yeah, they've always been like that, Webby. Japan, everything was cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I want to get your thoughts on this, especially Darren, about these. About a lot of these cartridges are going to be game key cards, so they're not actually going to have a game on. Yeah. It's basically a cartridge with an unlock key to download the game. What is the fucking point in that?
Well, this is just as bad as like those physical copies that you could get of certain Switch games, where it's just like contains code in a box.
Yep.
And you're just like, who the fuck is going to buy that? And I'm sorry, if you do buy that, you're a fucking idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need to be online to redeem that and have an account, so you might as well just do it.
So why would you spend an extra tenner just to have a plastic case and that's it? Because you might as well get the digital game cheaper, off their store.
I was going to say, Webby, there's about 3 or 4 different variants of this Switch 2 cartridge.
Oh, okay.
Well, obviously, you've got a normal cartridge, and then you've got one with more data on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got one of these, which is a game key card, which is a full 100 kilobytes that just downloads the game. Yeah.
Right.
So, and also they're talking.
This is another reason why you used to get why physical was a big thing back in the day. I remember obviously loads of people back with the Vita, and they used to be like, "I've run out of space. I ain't got any space. I had to buy a new card." And I was like, "I've still got the card I started with because I buy physical games and I don't have to install them onto my console like an idiot."
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point again with physical. You just play it off the media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's a few bits which, like I said, this has all come out after the press conference, so they're hoping nobody cares and people just buy it. But you get in they're selling Switch 2 versions of Breath of the Wild, Webby, and Tears of the Kingdom, which come with the upgrade.
Yep.
No, it doesn't. It's one of these game card things that will download, but it also comes with a voucher code inside the box that you can download the upgrade to your account. So if you buy the Switch version of Zelda and use it, you then can't sell that because it won't be the Switch 2 with the upgrade version. It's just the base Switch 2 version.
That's just...
Do you know what I mean? It's not... So it's not if it... It's bad enough that it's not all on the cartridge. They're locking off the upgrade to that. So then you have a Switch 2 version of the game, which has the Switch 1 version. Yeah.
Oh, right,
and so you've got, and they are going to be doing games with just codes and boxes as well, and it can be.
I won't be getting any of them.
Yeah. So it's not the thing. Oh, I want that game, but like, and they were talking. They haven't officially confirmed. Like, why is Donkey Kong £7 or £8 cheaper than Mario Kart World? Is this a game card key or a code in the box version? We don't know, and they've been very, very sketchy.
Oh, okay.
So it's just, it's really weird, isn't it, Webby? Like, they've had 8 years from Switch 1 to Switch 2 to bring all this out. They're taking their time. They announced this console in what, January? The end of January?
Yeah.
And then or the end of January, beginning of February, and they've showed us a 2-minute video that said Switch 2. Oh, come back in April. You come back in April, they show off a little bit.
Fantastic presentation, and they all run off as if to say, quick, let's get out of here before they get to the other shit.
and also, like I said, they didn't show the price of the console.
No, they didn't. I just thought that was
That's
really
what I'm
bizarre.
saying.
Yeah.
They didn't show, and I said to you, is it afterwards, like, did they announce? I don't think they did say the price, because normally that's the end of the thing. So I think the reason they didn't show the price is because they didn't want to, did they?
I don't know. It's just weird. Well, okay, so this is an interesting thing, right? So, obviously, we've got the UK prices and most of Europe, of course. But in the US, there is no pre-orders going on at the minute because of Trump's tariffs.
Yeah, which you thought they'd have sorted this out before they announced it.
Mm-hmm. So apparently, because of these tariffs, the Switch 2 could be over $600 in America.
Yeah, which will kill it, won't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think it will. I mean, I'm thinking if the Switch costs as much as a PlayStation 5, they're going to struggle. You know, I know Nintendo's Nintendo, but, you know, like I say, Webby, if you had to choose to buy your boy for Christmas, Dad, can I have a Switch 2 and it was £300, or a PS5 Pro and it was £700? I know what you're going for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas now they're on parity to it, but plus, like I said, with these tariff things, there's a lot of loopholes, because I think the games would actually be printed and made in America, like somewhere. You know, I don't think they're making them in Japan and then shipping them all over. Like I said, they're made everywhere. So is that technically a loophole, so they thought they'd get away with it?
I don't know, but it's be interesting to see how much the final price is in the USA at some point. But yeah, to say the rims at the minute are $600.
Well, that's with sales tax as well, because remember, when we see the prices in America, there are prices with VAT, their prices without their sales tax VAT. So it could be.
Yeah, but also we haven't mentioned the release date. It's pretty soon, isn't it? The 5th of June. So they haven't got a lot of time to sort this out, have they? Really?
No.
So. But no, I think
I think it's going to get delayed in America.
Really, that would be quite interesting.
I think they'll have to delay it, because they need to come to some sort of agreement with, obviously, Trump and all this stuff, because, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, I agree with what Trump is doing in theory, but when all it's doing is, affecting the people like that, it's not like they could just buy a different Nintendo Switch over there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't buy the American. You know, I'm saying that apparently Xbox are talking about a handheld, and you know, an Xbox is America, or you know, it's an American company, but I bet they don't manufacture them in America, do they?
No, they won't do. No.
You know, like I say with iPhones, they design them in America, but they manufacture them in China, I think. So it's like, why aren't Apple getting done with tariffs and stuff like that? So hopefully they get it sorted really quickly.
Yeah.
because I know we've been a bit upset and negative. I think we've been fair on it. Though we like it. The price is a bit iffy, and the messaging on what you get on the carts. But we want this to be good, don't we, Webby?
Well, yeah. I mean, my overall takeaway is this. I think the actual physical kit looks great. I think the screen, they only let down it's not OLED, but it's a good size screen. It looks like a more polished version of the Switch, more grown up, more sleek design. I like the way the Joy-Cons actually are magnets into there. I think the games look great on it. I mean, I wouldn't say no to one, 100%. I wouldn't. I'd love to play New Mario Kart, and some other games, etc., etc. But it's just the price of the actual software is the only thing that puts me off, mate. And some of the hardware as well, like the camera, 50 quid for a fucking camera, 75 quid for another controller. It's just breaks the bank, this system. That's the only thing. I do think it looks great. I really do. So, I'm not negative on it at all. The only negative I am on it is the price of the bits and pieces for it.
Yeah. Oh, and Dogster's put a good thing in chat. The little game tech demo that shows you how your Switch works. And rather than just being a free little game, they're charging you for it.
What?
I just think, like I said, but I do believe all these decisions on price are made by people in suits that have nothing to do with making the games and have no passion for it. They're just businessmen. They don't, like the people who have been there a long time, they don't want that, do they, Webby? The actual developers and the people who love Nintendo and have been Nintendo, their entire life, they don't want their customers to be upset, do they? And have to pay more money than they should. I mean, like I say, that packing game, who the fuck is going to pay for that?
I don't understand why you got to pay for that.
Yeah, you've got to pay for it.
But that's something that you would expect to, like you say with the PlayStation, you get Astrobot, but it teaches you about the controller and how it works and stuff. Whereas, and this is literally you're walking like a little character around a Switch 2, and it's just telling you about it. That's literally all it is.
It looks like a crappy Android app that someone made in a Fortnite type thing.
I can't believe they charge you for that. That's crazy.
Yeah, they charge you for it. It's paid for. I don't know how much, but even if it's a tenner, I'm like, come on, who decided that you'd have to pay for that shit? I'm just thinking, like, with me personally, it's like if I buy a Switch and then I buy Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, and a Pro controller, I'm pushing 600 quid. And like I said, would you say get a Switch 2 with that, or would you say get a Steam Deck OLED?
Well, it's easier. I'd get a Steam Deck because the games are fucking well cheap.
Well, yeah, the games are cheaper, but I know you only get Nintendo on Nintendo games. I don't know how long it will take Switch 2 games to get pirated that they would work on a Steam Deck or something. Not that I want that to happen, but it's just Nintendo for me, because they were cheaper than the competition, I think that gave them a really big edge. And because their graphics weren't as cutting edge and they didn't push it as much, we thought, well, fair enough, Nintendo are doing their own half-gen thing. They're not really focusing on... I mean, like I said, there's no ray tracing in this game on the console, is there? Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So they're not pushing it that. They're doing their little thing. They're making good little colourful games, but now they want to charge the big bucks. So I'm like, Like I said, if this was $350 and the games were 60 or even the same price as I'd be like, yeah. But I don't know.
That's fair enough.
We did miss some stuff out actually earlier. I was remembered.
Go on, Darren. Yeah, go for it.
And then you say, you talk that, and then you say if you still want to get one.
Yeah, well, there was the Daemon X Machina sequel that was announced that I was all happy for because I liked Daemon X Machina on the original Switch. It was just held back with like technical limitations and stuff every now and again. But I found out afterwards that's coming to all platforms.
Nice.
and you definitely didn't talk about the inclusion of the GameCube stuff now, along with
Oh yeah,
like,
I did write
hacking
that
stuff.
down.
Oh, you did, yeah. Oh, fair
Yeah,
enough.
but I think they were saying that was on Switch 1, and now they're saying that's not on Switch 1, that's only on Switch 2. But that's been. They knew that was, like, when they hacked the Switch ages ago, they knew they wanted to put this on the Switch, like, 4 years ago. The GameCube stuff. Plus, which is nice, but they're not like Wind Waker. It's not Wind Waker HD that was on the Wii U, it's just an emulated version from the GameCube.
Yeah, so it's in 4x3. So, and there's only
Yeah.
3 games, isn't it? You got Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, and F-Zero GX.
Yeah, initially, and then they may add some more, but it's just like.
But F-Zero is Nintendo's Bloodborne. It really is. It is a franchise people have been crying out for years for a sequel to F-Zero GX, because that was the last big mainline game, and everyone loved it.
Yeah.
And then they've just let it flounder since that point. I mean, they've done obviously like stuff for I think the 3DS and the DS and stuff, but outside of that one, they haven't really touched it. And the other game, I can't remember if you mentioned it or not. Is it like it's a new like Hyrule Warriors, isn't it? But it's based on Zelda.
Yeah, I think that they've announced more Hyrule games.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Age of
That
Imprisonment,
looks,
it's called.
pretty
Yeah,
good. That's it. That's the one. Yeah.
made by Koei
There was
Tecmo.
that looked pretty cool. But yeah, I still want one because I like Nintendo as a company. I like the Switch. The fact of being able to play certain sort of things handheld is a boon, considering I work weekends and stuff at times. So being able to sit there at work and be like, oh, I'll just play Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Or something again. And other stuff. It's good, and obviously when you buy a Nintendo system, you know you're going to get cool Nintendo exclusive games for it, but you'll only really be able to play on Nintendo or like hacked versions on the PC. Will I actually get one full off? I don't know. I might be tempted to get the pre-order down just in case, even if I don't want it. I've got one there to sell on to someone.
Well, a lot of companies have said sold out already. I think Shop 2 said sold out, like Wave 1 and 2, and I think Games Collection, their first. And I thought, well, I didn't even, like, see, like, get an email to say they're available to pre-order or anything like that. They just said, sign up to this and we'll email you, and then they just email me 5 times a day different stuff from their site, so...
Well, generally, I think with those is those shops now know that they've got in way more pre-order orders than they'll be getting stock in. So they're basically like, right, we can't do any more of these.
Do you two think Nintendo are going to do their usual like artificial scarcity of consoles so you can't get them?
I don't think they will this time. Like I think with the issues people are making about the pricing and stuff, I don't think they're going to pull that this time. I don't think it's going to be good for them, because there will be certain people that will be put off, and then something else is going to come along a bit later on. Maybe even the handheld Xbox, if people don't care about physical stuff. And just be like, well, fuck it, I'll get that instead then.
Yeah, Game Pass, job done, isn't it?
And then they won't bother. With the games, it's hard to say, because I'm not buying codes in a box. I'm not buying a game that doesn't work generally as it is off the cartridge when it's plugged in. I don't want to have to download stuff onto the system. I don't want to have to install stuff onto the system, per se. Although you do sometimes get that with some of the Switch stuff, it asks you to install a portion of it. But it's not like you're actually having to connect to download to actually install that. With stuff like Mario Kart and that, I can kind of guess, because it does technically work as a service, per se, with the updates and the course things and the characters and all that kind of stuff they add. But I'm just not interested in paying like 90 quid for... or around that sort of price point anyway, like say 80 quid for a physical copy of a game that's just a fake.
Yeah.
There's not even anything like physical about it, because Nintendo are notorious for turning off services and servers.
Mm.
So you could get this system out in like 10, 15 years' time, and they've turned off the things. You can't even download or access any of the games that you've actually got.
Yeah.
And it's all tied to your accounts and stuff. And I was so much better when, obviously, I can understand with Sony and, PlayStation and Microsoft with the trophies and the achievements and all that kind of stuff, that, yeah, you'd need to sign in to obviously have them linked to a profile.
Yeah.
But I'd love to be just done with that shit, personally. Just so you can just pick up something, just turn it on and play it, and off you go. No
So are
need to
you
sign
similar
into
to me?
anything.
You might get a pre-order in, but you're not sure if you want one yet.
Yeah, it's basically along those lines. Like, don't get me wrong, if all the games were like as I thought they were, you know what I mean, the games are on the cartridges and there's all of that. I mean, I was literally in chat with Webby saying I never bothered with Breath of the Wild or the other one, because they were just kind of, they came out around certain times. I hated the weapon mechanic that they had in the games. And then by the time I was thinking of giving them a go, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll leave it. And then they announced the Switch 2 versions where they're going to like obviously look better and run a lot better, because a lot of people did moan about the performance. That was one of the only gripes. And I was like, yeah, I'll buy those. But now it seems just pointless. So I probably won't be touching those. If I'm only getting the Switch versions with a fucking digital upgrade code, it's useless.
Well, like I said, like you were talking, like, I mean, you said like all my like retro games I've got in this room, you know, all the PS1, PS2. If I want to play it, I'll just plug it into the hardware and it'll play. Whereas, imagine in like 10 years' time, you're like, oh, I want to play that game. What's this code in a box? You know, why isn't the game actually on there?
I can't download it anymore.
You can't download it anymore. Because like I said, you could buy the Switch 2 version of Zelda, and then they turn off the servers, and you've only got the Switch 1 version because you can't get it without the internet connection. It just seems like a couple of the things that were Nintendo's sort of trump card. See what I did there? Trump card tariffs. That it was cheaper than the other consoles. It's not anymore. The games were a little bit cheaper. They're now more than PS5. Not 55 quid to 70 quid. And the games are now not on the cartridges. I know some of them might be and some of them will be, but it's like those were two or three of the things that really made Nintendo, like, you know, why Nintendo fans like Nintendos, for things like that. And for them to not do that anymore, I just think that's very not what I thought Nintendo was about.
Money grabbing, because someone basically in their offices went, yeah.
That's what I said. This isn't.
All we need to do is we can just sell them the original game cartridge that we already have a load of. Look, there's a load there. We can just bung that in the box, stick the code in, and that way we don't have to really make any more versions of it.
Yeah.
And we can just sell them this. Yeah. They won't know nothing. They're fucking idiots.
Yeah. And like I said, and I'm not saying this, like, I mean, was it a what? I can't remember who's in charge of Nintendo #1 now. But like I said, when Miyamoto was in charge, he wouldn't have put up with that shit, would he? I mean, how have we gone for the day? A delayed game is only delayed for a short time. A broken game is broken forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Nintendo seal of approval. Who would put a seal of approval on a video game where the game's not on the cartridge? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, imagine that I'm not saying that. I mean, I was watching listening to another podcast, like the Video Game Outsiders, and he's like, where a thing was like, oh, I'll buy myself a Switch game because I'm going on like a long flight, and you pick up the Switch game, and then you get on the airport and airplane, you put it in there, and you're like, won't play because you've got to download 200 gig, and you're like, brilliant.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So it's just. I don't know. I'm not black. They're just copying what the others are doing, and it's just
they're all starting to turn as shit as each other.
Yeah. Oh, PlayStation have been fuckers for over 10 years, haven't they? You know, Xbox are only being as nice and consumer friendly as they have been, is because they had to. We know what happens when they thought they could get away with it. We had an Xbox One with all their TV Connect, always online. Well, if you don't like it, stick with the old fucking console. Don Madrick's bollocks. So, and like I'm saying, these are dickheads in suits that are only interested in profit margins over the next quarter or over the next 12 months.
There doesn't seem to be. Yeah, carry on.
I'm just saying, they're not interested in longevity of the company. They're only interested in as long as it looks good and I make money for the 2 or 3 years I'm in charge. I couldn't care less what happens to people in the future or the customers.
There doesn't seem to be, in my opinion, anyone who's in charge at any of these big companies who are actual real gamers, like full-on gamers that have been gaming for years and years and years and actually kind of understand what gamers want.
Yeah. I mean, like I said,
they all seem slightly clueless. The only one I imagine is probably the closest is probably Phil Spencer, and that bloke probably has a padded room in his house that he flashes about in because he's not allowed to actually do what he wants to do with the system.
It's like,
because big people above him are like, no, you can't do that. We're doing this.
It's like, when you get, I know you two not that interested, like with like football and stuff like that, when they have board members and they always try to have an ex-player or a fan on the board so they don't lose reality for what the players or the fans want. And you can just imagine, why isn't there someone when they're making these decisions in the boardroom saying, no, our fans don't want this. Our fans want the games all on the cartridge. Our fans want the consoles cheaper. That's why we're as popular as we are. And like I said, I think Phil Spencer's been doing this for 10 years and now he's in his padded room, and he...
See, this is why...
Fans don't want a Bloodborne remaster or a sequel. What they want is an always online live service hero shooter with really terrible character designs, and we'll throw like £500 million at it.
See, like, this is why, and I know I bang on about it a lot, but this is why PC gaming is so good now with the handhelds. You've got so many options of handhelds as well, like Steam Deck and ROG Ally and stuff like that. I think PC now is a perfect place to play for value for money. Steam sales, key sites. You can play, on your desk, have a PC on your telly. You can have a PC-based handheld, and it's all the same game library. I just think that's where you're getting the best value for money now. And I think consoles in general are just now ripping people off.
All consoles actually have left are physical copies and exclusives, and they seem consistent to fucking destroy both of those things.
100%,
and then wonder why everyone fucks off elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's retarded. It really is retarded.
Darren, don't you think if Steam... Now, because Steam Deck has done really well in it for what they've wanted, they've got the infrastructure and they've got the games behind them and the thing. If they come out and say, look at our new Steam console... I know we fucked up the last one, but here it is. It's just a nice little console with a decent controller. Yes, it's always digital, but it works on your console. It works on your TV. You can plug it into a PC monitor. You could do all that for it. Games, yes, they're all digital, but they're all cheaper than they are at PlayStation, who have now copied Nintendo and gone up to £80, £90 games. They're just going to wipe out consoles in less than 5 years, aren't they, Webby? Do you think that's what they're going to do if they wanted to?
I mean, the problem is consoles have now trained most gamers to accept the digital now. So
and the classic thing is technically as well, by doing that, they're sticking barbed fish hooks into their customers because if they go elsewhere, they're not going to have access to all of their digital library because it's only on the platform that they're currently on.
Yeah, they're both putting games on Steam. I mean, let's just say in 3 years' time, Webby, they announced the PS6 and the Xbox whatever, and they've just gone full-on greed mode. Games are £100 each, and it's digital only, and Steam come along and say, there you go, here's a console, half the price. And the games are 30, and you can buy them on CD keys if you want. We're not fussed. And you're like, you'd think, I'll have one of those, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, Dougster's just put in the Twitch chat that he says, if anything, PC started the digital thing. And I do agree, but consoles have followed suit with PC. They didn't have to. No one forced them to do that. Now...
Yeah, but it's because they didn't want to put in the work and the effort. They just thought they'd try and copy someone else's homework and improve on it.
Yeah.
Because, like, we've said this before, like, you go back to even like the 360 PS3 era, like PCs and consoles were pretty fundamentally different in a way. Like the PS3 was like notorious, wasn't it? Because it had some sort of engine or something that it was quite hard to program for.
That's right.
And stuff, and then obviously from the eras after that, they were kind of like, oh, let's get to the PC. Let's ask the console owners if they want to install their games onto hard drives so that they buy less games because they don't have room enough for the fucking games on their systems. And let's also have them install them to a hard drive which has an expiry date on it, because all hard drives and memories do. It will eventually just die. So there will be people turning on their PS4s, PS3s, Xbox 360s and stuff in probably like 5-10 years time from now, and they'll be like, oh, the hard drive's dead, everything's gone.
But I think like in the PC handheld space, if they upped the grunt on them, like the Steam Deck is, because you can dock them as well. You see, I've got a dock from my Steam Deck, and you can plug it into your telly and plug it. You use a wireless control and stuff like that. So it's basically a Switch. But it's vastly underpowered, so the games just run like arse on a telly. Now, if they had a decent powered Steam Deck 2, which outperforms the Switch by a considerable margin, then that would be the way to go for me. I'll just have one and stick it under my telly. Job done. I wouldn't need a dedicated Steam console.
Plus, you got to think, Webby, the same as I was going to say, Webby. We're talking about, and especially we're confused, and we're, I don't want to use the word hardcore gamers, but we play a lot of games. We talk about them online. Yeah, exactly. We're, gentlemen. Like a couple of weeks ago, Steam put out like a patch for Half-Life, a 20-odd-year-old game, which put it up to and it added ray tracing and all four. When was the last time Steam charged for something like that? If you had the older version, it just downloaded for free. They didn't charge you anything for it. Because
not only that, is you'll have people that just make the mods for things like that, and they'll give that away for free anyway. So.
Oh yeah, I know you can do that as well, but it's just like, we had it up there. Like there was a 3DS game, Bravely Default something, which they ported to Switch. I know they're porting it again to Switch too, so they've charged you 3 times for the same game. Do you know what I mean? Steam won't. We talk about Steam went all digital, but they're not hiding anything like what those other people are. It seems like the consoles are trying to trick you into going all digital, where Steam was just like, this is what we're doing. But I remember Steam games, especially when you had those massive fucking box games, those PC games will sometimes cost more than console games.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So they have said, we're going all digital, but games will be cheaper. And guess what? 20 years later, they've gone all digital, and games are cheaper on Steam than what they are on console.
Yeah, because you're not paying the console.
I know,
but fees or whatever. Whatever the hell it is. Yeah.
But none of these consoles, they're not giving you cheaper digital than physical, are they?
No, they're not. No, and that is something that we've all said on this podcast many times since the Xbox 360 days that they should be doing. So, yeah,
but
I get you.
We'll get me and Darren. We'll get a Switch 2 in a couple of months, and then we'll just jizz all over it with our Nintendo tattoos.
What games do you get? I've got one that I found that works off the card. Like, it doesn't need any actual downloading or updates.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is that everything on the Switch 2? Have we talked about the whole thing?
I think so. The Pro controllers work from the old one onto the new one.
Yeah, which is good. I'm really happy.
Which is good. It's got some new buttons, but I don't know. The ones at the back.
Doesn't have the C button.
Oh no!
I like they're calling it the credit card button because you have to pay to use that button. Because if you're not online, that button does nothing, does it? I'm just wondering if you press that button when you don't have online, is it going to take you directly to a page to pay to buy online? Imagine funny. If you keep and they've put that button in a way where you keep touching. No, but I'm just saying, if they've deliberately put it where you're going to keep accidentally touching it or something, if it's really easy to touch.
Oh, that's like, I'll tell you, like, you want to talk about a shitly placed button on a controller. That fucking one on the Xbox.
Yeah, I'm always pressing that by mistake and recording
on the
shit.
Xbox
I'm always pressing
fucking
that.
Awful.
Yeah. Every time I try to press
disable
options.
it. Yeah. because I don't want to disable it, because when I do want to use it, it won't be accessible, and it's just.
I mean, imagine you do that, Webby. Like you give Marcus his little Switch 2 controller, and every time he tries to press like the start button, he opens up and he's like, "Daddy, give me a credit card to buy Switch Online Family Pack." You'd be like, ugh.
Yeah. Something that we didn't mention, that Doug's just mentioned on the Twitch about the game share.
Yeah, that looks good. I did put that down, but I put that down. I've made a load of notes, and then I've put the games I've played, and I've made loads of notes under. I didn't realise.
So basically, within a vicinity, if you're in, say, us three were in the same room, and Darren had, I don't know, a game, and we all wanted to play it together, he could share that game with us to play it online together, which is quite cool. I quite like that. I think that's pretty awesome.
It is, but I've done this because they had this on DS, Webby.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
Yes.
They had the same. Yeah, I mean, they've got Mario Odyssey and stuff like that. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure how much of them I trust that, because I remember Mario Kart, it wasn't the full game that you could play. It was just a couple of modes and a couple of tracks. So I would wait for that.
I've had, from
I'd wait, because when it says Mario Odyssey, does that mean you can play the entire game with one cart with two different switches, or is it? And it says that the software updates available for the titles in the future. So how much of it is? I mean, they also did, and I think it was the, I know you talked about it the week before, the whole, you can share your digital games with people.
Yeah, those virtual game carts.
Yeah, for up to 2 weeks or something. So it just seems very bullshitty stuff to try and just force everyone to go. Because like I said, with you, Webby, not being funny, if you bought Switch for both of your kids, you could buy one game and they could share it, can't they?
Yeah.
But can they do that anymore if it's code in a box? Well, they can, kind of.
There must be a limit to how much you can share as well.
Of course there will be. You can only do it for so long. And also, when you share it with someone...
it registers to the profile or the console that it's shared to, so you can't share it again to that for maybe
and can you
2
imagine
months
it?
Or something.
Especially with kids. I mean, I'd probably do this. Oh, mate, can you game share me Mario for the weekend? I want to play it. Of course you can, mate. There you go. Well, that means he can play it and I can't until it's back.
Yeah,
but I bet
probably.
I can go in there and revoke him and take it back instantly. Like 10, do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. So that's not the same as sharing games, is it? Sharing games. Can you remember the PS? And that's how far we've come from Japan. Remember the PS4? This is how you share games. There you go. Thanks.
Well, yeah.
We've gone from that to this.
If you gave someone a game for them to borrow, obviously you wouldn't have access to it because they'd have it. So.
Yeah, I know, but you can't do that with a code in a box.
No.
And it's.
And there's the things as well that people were saying that the code in the box, once it's been redeemed, it's redeemed to your account, so you can't even sell it or lend that on or do anything with it.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's just that I just hope that the games are still as good as Nintendo games usually are.
I think that Mario Kart World looks really good, to be honest. I think
it looks good, but the last few years, and I would say only performance-wise, like they were struggling frame rate-wise. I'm just saying is if they do all this stuff and they put out some of these games that are crap, as well as this, it's just not going to be good, is it?
Nintendo has a very big hardcore fan base, and to be real, there's going to be a lot of people that will run damage control for them for free.
Oh yeah, I mean they're not the only company to. I mean they've messed up before.
Mario Kart will sell millions upon millions of copies. So will Metroid and.
If they're allowed to sell it in America. I mean, like I said, if Webby's right, if they put all these tariffs on and they've got to spend £600 for the console and $150 or $600 for the console and $150 for every Nintendo Switch game, they're not going to pay it, are they? I mean, there'll be a hardcore, but they won't sell as many Switch 2s as they did Switch 1s if it's double the price, will they? and the games are triple the price.
Is the original Switch now like pretty much tied as the biggest selling system?
I think it must be, no?
I think it
like 155 million units or something. Or how many did the Game Boy shift?
Not as much.
That must have been. Oh, right.
From what I heard, it overtook what they said PS2 sold, and then all of a sudden Sony announced somewhere that it was actually 195 million units. We forgot about this.
They found some more votes.
Yeah,
in another
they found
room.
some more votes. Seriously, so I'm like, great. And the Wikipedia's been updated as well, so I think it won't sell what it outdid what they originally said it did, but now it hasn't. But
I mean, to be real, we've all talked about the fact that the major driving force behind the PlayStation just selling the amount of units it did with the PS2 is because it had a built-in Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
Was it Blu-ray or
it was DVD on the PS2?
Yeah, I spent,
and it was actually cheap.
DVD.
It was cheaper to get that than it was to buy a dedicated player at the time.
Yeah, PS2 at 300.
Might as well get that bundled in.
Yeah, the PS2 at 300. I remember buying my PS2 from Bennett's. Well, I think it was out a few months or within 6 months. He said it was the cheapest DVD player that you could buy. And he said it was probably 2 to 1, if not 3 to 1. People would walk in, buy a PS2 and the PS2 DVD remote and not buy any games for it. I said, don't want a game for it. He said, I want that. He said, because that's what I want. And I'm like, wow. So, but Dougster's now put in the chat, and I'm probably right with him. He says, I'm not bothering with the Switch 2. My Switch hasn't been turned on in well over a year. I'm probably the same. But I've got about 30, 40 Switch games behind me that half of them are still in the plastic. I've got loads of Xenoblade games I haven't touched, several Pokemon, and a couple of Mario games, and the Zelda. What's the Zelda? The top-down one, Link's Awakening.
Oh,
great all those games I haven't played. So, in my mind, I'll play them on the Switch too because I'm going to get these upgrades. But now I need a fucking spreadsheet and an afternoon to find out which upgrades I get, which upgrades I have to pay for, and stuff. And I'm just like, why can't you just plug it in and it just works?
Yeah, gaming has definitely lost its simplicity when it comes to the console market, when it was just literally go down to town, buy a game, read the instruction manual excitedly on your way home, and then plug it in and off you go, or put the disc in and off you play. But
I mean, you had that on PS2, didn't you? Oh, it's backwards compatible with all PS1 games. Yeah. And I don't think it was as good as they made out. They had a setting where you could, make the games look a bit softer, and apparently the frame rates. But I don't know how much better. It was probably just a filter that made it look like it was smoother, removed some of the jaggies. But in your brain, wow, it plays all of my PS1 games and makes them look better. Bargain. And it plays
we mentioned that pretty much all the Switch games are back compat, didn't we?
Yeah, most of them. Apparently, there's something like 1,500 Switch games, and apparently they've only found about. I think it is mostly the Labo and some ones with
downloadable games and stuff, really, isn't it?
Which I've got rid of. So I think they could have done a lot better if they'd have had more gamer people in charge of making these decisions, and they're not the only. I mean, can you remember when they released the 3DS and it flopped like mad? And then within a few months, they dropped the price and they brought out the Ambassador program, and people who bought it new got loads of free games downloaded. Can you remember that, Webby?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, the 3DS was
I actually quite like the 3DS. Yeah,
yeah, I did, but it launched a lot more expensive than what you thought it was. And then the PSP came out, and I think the PSP or the Vita, they thought the Vita was going to do better until they committed suicide with the cards again. But yeah, it comes down to money. If this Switch doesn't sell a lot, they'll lower the price, won't they?
Oh yeah.
The Vita to me has still got the best game cases. They're so nice and small. You get if you get the games, the instructions, you've got the little cartridge. You just pop it in and it plays straight off the cartridge. Probably the last system that actually did that particularly.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't happen because you wouldn't get that. You wouldn't get everybody to be on your side. But If you wanted the Switch to be 300 instead of 400, if you just said to everyone, don't buy it in June, everyone wait until Christmas, it'd be £100 cheaper. If you got everyone to just not buy one on launch and just wait 6 months until Christmas and buy one for Christmas.
Darren, can you hear Nick?
Yeah, I can hear Nick.
Oh, yeah. Weird. I couldn't hear him for a second then. Oh, no, I can hear you now.
You can hear me now.
Yeah, weird.
I was just saying, if everybody said, we're not buying a Switch on launch, we'll get it. I mean, you said you might get one for Christmas for the kid.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, if everybody said, we're not buying it at launch, we're waiting 6 months, Nintendo would drop the price like 25% and they'd drop the games down to 60 because they want to sell them. It's just vote with your wallets, and they're charging what they think they can get away with, and they think people will pay it. And we'll find out.
The Switch in Japan is going to sell a hell of a lot. The Switch 2.
Oh, that's bloody hell. Well, yeah, it's nearly half the price as what we're paying.
Yeah, because they've got a specific Japanese-only model, which is being made with the Japanese economy in mind.
Yeah.
So it's just locked to like the Japanese region.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's locked to the Japanese region only games, but it can only. I think it can only have Japanese accounts on the system.
That's right, yeah.
And it can only have Japanese language as like the system languages, because when we buy them, it's like a worldwide. You have every language like Spanish, French, Portuguese.
Oh, we've all had it where someone's been a twat and they've borrowed our phone or something and gone in the settings and changed it to fucking Spanish or something, isn't he?
No.
Oh, man,
I've had that once.
Yeah, I've had that.
This was like about a decade ago.
Yeah, well, then you just Google how to change it back or something. But yeah, I had some really good friends growing up. They're all horrible.
Friendly bants.
Okay. Are we done with Switch? No, the Nintendo Switch, not our Switch.
I think. I mean, we're recording for 2 hours now, really, so I don't really want to go on for too much longer. I don't really want to talk about many games played, really, at all. Just a few brief things, really, if that's okay from my end.
Yeah, I'll just run through some games, but they're not like super in depth, so I can hammer through them pretty quickly.
So before we talk about games, I just want to say I went to the cinema this week.
Oh yeah,
and I
family
watched.
Outing.
Yeah, it took 50 fucking quid. Family of 4 to go to the fucking movie. What the fuck? Another 25 quid on popcorn. Jesus.
What'd you see?
Minecraft the movie.
Oh, is it terrible?
Well, I went into it thinking this is going to be shite. And the first 10 minutes, I'm not going to spoil any of it, I was sitting in the cinema thinking, this is shite. And then the name of the movie came up because it's like a bit before, if that makes sense, with Jack Black doing stuff. I was thinking, oh my God. And it actually ended up being a pretty good movie. I actually really enjoyed it. It was just silly fun. There was a lot of comical moments in it. There's a lot of Minecraft stuff like it. So if you have never played Minecraft, there's a lot of stuff you won't get. I've played a lot of Minecraft, so I understood quite a bit of it. I thought it was actually a really good movie, man. I think it's going to make a lot of money, because when I was looking at the cinema, there's a Cineworld near me, and I actually took the afternoon off on Friday and went because I was looking at the screenings from Saturday all the way through this week, and the cinema was like every screen was just rammed for every session. I was thinking, bloody hell. So I went for a 1:20 showing on a Friday, and when I put the tickets in the morning, there wasn't that many people showing us in the screen because I could pretty much pick any seat. When we got in there, nearly every seat was taken. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, bloody hell, I've not seen a cinema like that in ages. It's full of teenagers, really. But
I do like seeing a cinema or film in a full cinema.
I don't when there's teenagers behind you chatting through half the fucking film, which is what my experience was. But the actual film
we
itself
never done that when
good.
we were little, did we, Webby? We just sat there like good boys.
Yeah,
definitely
indeed.
Weren't making like little boomerangs out of like ice lolly sticks and throwing them at people and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. But no, it was actually a pretty good movie. As video game movies go, I thought it was pretty good, pretty funny. Yeah, I definitely would recommend it if you've got kids. As an adult, I wouldn't go and watch it on my own, but with kids, it was. I really enjoyed it.
Stifler's mum is in it. I'm sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you just want. People forget why people go to the cinema. We want entertainment. We want to be happy. And for kids' movies, just take them, nice, colourful screen, leave your brain at the door. None of this, and I'm not going to say, like all this, woke bollocks, but all these movies with these hidden meanings and messages and people trying to bully and guilt you into going to see their movies. Just make an entertaining movie. I mean, no one was going into this and expecting this to be Lord of the Rings or Schindler's List. Exactly. No one wants to just make. I think Jack Black gets it, and I think a lot of movie studios have worked this out, and we're past that now. Just make a good, fun movie.
It is a good, fun movie. 100%. Yeah. I do recommend it. To be fair.
Yeah, and you say teenagers were there, Webby. Well, they probably grew up where Minecraft was their game. When we went to watch, I suppose me or you, our age, our movie would have been Tomb Raider, wasn't it? Like one of the first, early 2000s, when we'd have been teenagery age, sort of early 2000s. And I'm just saying, but that wasn't like I said, I want an Oscar bait movie. That was just a nice standard action movie. Looked okay, a few good bits. Everybody's happy. Don't just make more movies like this.
Yeah, it was good fun. So, yeah. The only game I'm going to talk about, because I completed it this week as well, is Atomfall.
Oh, you completed it already?
Took me under 5 hours, mate.
Oh, that's good. I thought this was like 100-hour fucking open world thing.
It's not really a proper open world game, to be honest.
Oh, you're selling me because
Atomfall. It's split into sections.
What is this game? Like, as the more I've been playing it, the more I'm kind of like thinking what is this game? What is the aim of this game? Because it doesn't particularly have a progression system.
Nope.
It doesn't have any sort of XP or RPG elements to it outside of like dialogue choices.
Yeah.
The combat to me is pretty terrible. Like, I'm going to say it, I do not enjoy the combat in the game very much. The exploration is really fun though. And the locations are great, and it looks visually appealing in its presentation.
Yeah.
So it's got all that going for it. But then you've got other weird little things, like you'll go exploring in an area, and you get like a swarm of some shit, and it's like, why? Like the rats or the birds or like the bug things that start flying out. And it's like, I get you can smash the nest and then eventually kill them all and that, and they're gone. But it's just like, why? Like maybe once or twice, but it's just quite often when you're exploring in an area, like, yeah, sweet, I'll just go over here and And then you're constantly filling up your inventory as well.
What inventory?
Well, you get 4 slots for weapons, like your main sort of like ones that you'd be using, outside of pistols that take up one of the smaller slots. But I think you only get 16 of those, or 15, or something weird like that.
You don't get a lot of.
And you're always picking stuff up.
Yeah.
There's always stuff all over the place to pick up, and it's just like, what's the point in this? There's nowhere to put it, and even when you want to sell it, you don't actually sell it for gold. You use it to barter with sellers for things that they own. And half the times, more often than that, you'll go to a seller and it's like, you've got nothing I want.
Yeah.
So I can't even get rid of this shit.
Yeah.
to you.
I don't think it's a great game,
mate. There is a stash though.
Yeah. Yeah.
which is a bonus. I think it holds about 100 items. It's like these vacuum tubes that you find in like the lab
Yeah.
at the beginning of them, and whatever you put in them, you can access from any. So that's nice.
Yeah. I didn't think the game was great. I had some high hopes for this, to be honest.
I was really looking forward to this.
It's and the way I explained it, I don't know if I explained this on the podcast before or just in a chat with someone. I can't remember. My brain's mush. I explained it. I was explaining it to someone that it's perfect Game Pass fodder.
I can understand that now. The more I've sort of like the more I've played it. I mean, I'm enjoying it to a degree, but it's not what I hoped for at all.
Yeah. Well,
in theory,
the thing is, there's not really an overarching story to it.
No, I think in this you're just basically going through an area trying to find stuff out and get the hell out of the zone.
Yeah.
That it's all in.
Yeah.
But you've got all this other sort of window dressing everywhere. That is it there? Does it lead to anything? What's it there for if it doesn't matter too much? Like you can't ever equip like better armor or anything like that either. That's like
it's
that's all just down to your perks that you kind of unlock by finding the manuals to then be able to purchase them with other items that you find every now and again while out exploring.
Well, the game is all about exploration, doing all the side quests you come across, etc. Because the story is really, from what I've found, from what I played, is in the side stuff. It's all optional.
Yes, I've noticed some of it you can mainline and other stuff you can, because like I've got so many quests in my quest book.
Yeah.
And like a lot of them say main story.
Yeah, because really, and I explained this to you actually in chat last week, didn't I, Darren? When I finished it, I think we talked about it in Discord.
I've been just before we watched the Nintendo.
Yeah, and I was saying, like, this isn't a spoiler at all, but basically, all you need to complete the game is to go to a specific location with 3 batteries and another item, and then you can just fight the final boss person thing, and that's it. That's the end of the game, and there's a choice of 4 different endings. So I mean, I didn't cheat, but I used a walkthrough, which is probably just cheating. I don't know, but yeah, well, whatever. Because I was just so bored with the game, I was like, I just want to find a walkthrough. How the fuck do I finish this game so I can just say I've done it? And I just followed a guide in the end to where these items were and this other thing, and went to the place and went and did the end of the game, and that was it. I was done. I was like, right, delete.
I think I already have 2 of those batteries that you're talking about.
Yeah, you will do. You can get them in quite a few different places. So, yeah, but you need another item. I'm not going to say what it is because it's a spoiler, but there's only 2 places you can get that other item, and they're both via side quests. So, and that's the only way to get this item.
All I'm going to say is that the signal thing.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I thought it was an average game. As I say, perfect Game Pass fodder. It's great to be in the Game Pass library. I'm not going to knock it for that. But I think if I'd bought the game, I would feel a little bit different about it, because I'd have been like, I've spent my hard-earned money on this and it's not what I expected. Yeah. So how do you feel, Darren, spending money on it?
Are we getting a lot of that in games lately, Webby, where we see all the previews, which we get more than we've ever seen, and then we get to play the actual game, and it's not the game we thought we were getting? I think that's happened a lot the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it has me not massively worried, but slightly worried for Expedition 33, because everything I've seen on that looks amazing, but the fact it's coming to Game Pass day one is now giving me pause for thought, shall we say? On
you've got to hope there's still diamonds in the rough.
I hope so, mate. I do hope so. But it's just been my experience of late that games that come to Game Pass day one haven't been great, and all the games I've had the pure joy of life in have been games I've had to purchase, as peeps would say. So,
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, but it isn't as good. It's like it's in that 6.5, 7 out of 10 range to me.
Yeah.
In theory, it could have been had it had elements in there that I was hoping it would have. A good like 9.
Yeah. It is a shame.
Because there's a lot going on in that world. I will say there is like loads of stuff that are going on like all over the sort of place when you're in the town when you first get to
that first village is like so basically. I mean, I was saying the graphics are amazing. I think they're fantastic. And then one of the first things I did, Darren, I don't know if you did this when you went in that first village. I went into the church and then it kicks off a side quest if you know what happens in there.
Yeah.
And then you get to make some choices. And I quite liked that aspect of it, that you just wander into places and random things happen. I think that's quite a cool feature of the game, but that's kind of the only massively positive thing I can say about it, apart from the graphics, because I think the combat was just clunky. Not super enjoyable, to be honest. But yeah, so for a Game Pass game, great, but yeah, not for a purchase. And that's the only game I wanted to talk about.
Nick?
I just played a couple of hours of Alan Wake. I've been really busy this week, so nothing really.
You
to
still
say
enjoying it?
The same. I keep walking around getting lost.
It's a beautiful place to walk around and get lost, though. That's
Sometimes.
One of the things. There were times that I had the game on and I just thought, screw it, I'm done for the day. I'm just going to teleport to a couple of places and just go in at the scenery and walk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just taking in like some of the sort of splendour that certain games have every now and again. And you're just like, yep, that's nice.
Well, it's reusing a lot of the locations, and then you do something and it changed the time to a different, and it's the same place, but like the cult has been here or the police have been here, and it's like I'm not sure how I'm supposed to get through that type of bit. Like I've been stuck in a hotel for hours.
Oh, I know where you are.
Yeah. I've just left that house. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, how am I supposed to know which bit is which and
which route to take? There is a method to it. I can't quite remember what it is, but there is a method. There's 3 doors.
It's all about the storylines that change the narrative of the scene, isn't it? You have to make sure you do the right ones to get to the right areas.
Yeah, it's like I said. Sometimes games are just assume you're an idiot and just put waypoints and yellow paint in everything. But now it seems like some games have gone course corrected and gone too far the other way and don't tell you anything. So I'm like,
Just try every route, mate.
I try, but it's not about trying every route. I'm walking around this hotel for 45 minutes, and I was like, well, I didn't know I was supposed to go in this board and change the time. Okay, so I'll try this and I'll try that. And it's just making me want to Google how to do it, and I don't want that.
And while you're running around, in theory, slightly annoyed at where to go next, the worst thing you can hear is...
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh no, I can't be bothered with this, don't bother, mate. Don't make me use precious ammo and batteries.
Yeah, but like I say, I am enjoying it. Obviously, once I've finished it, I'll have better opinions on it. But so far, I'm liking the original better because it was just a lot more basic and focused. And like I said, I've been so long now playing as Alan Wake, like I've forgotten what the policewoman's story was.
Oh right, yeah.
I'm like,
what was she in it again? Right back in.
I know, but I'm just saying, I forgot. All I remember was, this is getting good, and now I've been playing as Alan Wake for like 4 hours, and I've forgotten there was something.
There is a point where you can just basically skip, like, you choose to, once it gets to a certain point of the game, you can pretty much, as far as I'm aware, one character's story.
Yeah, you can.
I think that's what I'm doing, but I don't know.
Other one.
When you're in a room,
you're not skipping between the realities.
No.
Because
they're not making me do it. That's probably
No, they
what that
don't make
is.
you do it. It's a choice of
I
which
know
order
it
you want to
just
play
it
it in.
just it's just. I think the pacing's a bit off because of that.
It
You
is
know.
kind of weird. It was a game I really enjoyed, and I thought it did what it needed to do with the areas that it gives you in the spaces, and by doing that, the game kind of didn't outwear its welcome.
Mm. But it's weird. It's like I'll do a
It's like a
chapter because at
good
the end
length.
of every chapter it plays a little song, doesn't it? And I must have spent like 2 hours doing this one chapter, getting lost, and then I play another chapter and it's over in like 5 minutes, and it's playing another song. I'm like, well, how come that one took that long?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Cool.
But
Anyway, sorry, mate. I know I'm just looking at time and it's ticking on,
yeah,
mate.
yeah.
So, is there any other games you guys wanted to talk about before we get to some questions from the Discord?
Yeah,
Go, Darren. Go, go, go.
I've been having a good time. I completed Arizona Sunshine
Oh, nice. Nice, mate.
on
Cool.
on the PSVR 2. I didn't. I think I had about another 3 or 4 levels to go. It's very arcadey. The levels aren't super long or anything.
Nice. Is that number 2,
But
Sunshine 2, or the
no,
first
it's
one?
the first one. It was just Arizona Sunshine remake. So it's basically the
Hmm.
Arizona 2 sort of engine, but they did that for the first one. Went back and redid it.
Nice.
It's a fun game, very arcadey, shootery. The ending sort of parts of it I actually reasonably enjoyed. Although there's a couple of bits where it doesn't really explain to you much. If anyone's played it, there's a part where you have to go off and collect 3 explosives and then set them in a wall. And it asks you to place them in the wall, and then you're going over there doing the plunger up and down, and nothing's happening. It's just sparking and doing nothing. You're just like, all right, yeah, I
Oh,
must be
thanks,
doing
mate.
something wrong here.
Yeah.
Went on the internet and looked it up. Oh, you've got to push them into the wall. Actually, once you've placed them, you then have to go up and then readjust them. I was like, oh, thanks. Would have been nice if the game actually told me that rather than having you like think, what the hell has gone wrong? Is this
Yeah.
another glitch? Because you do get games that glitch, one of which I'll talk about later. So there's that. I also played a game called Subside, I think it's called.
Okay.
So this is a diving game.
That's VR as
A
well.
very, very kind of relaxed. Yeah, these are mainly all VR. And that's pretty chill. It's just a game where you go into like a training tank to start off with and learn how to swim about and dive down and look for stuff. There's collectibles but it's mainly just sort of enjoying the experience and like the areas you're in.
Hmm.
And you find pickups in each biome that you're in, which is like a small tank to simulate an area.
Okay.
And there's various collectibles to find, and by doing those, it unlocks the next areas and some other bits later on. So I don't think it's like huge, but there's a lot to find on some of those. Like that training level, I think it said I've found like 92% of the pickups on that, and I've spent a long time in that training level area looking.
Oh, wow.
So there's some stuff like pretty well hidden away. You get unlockables as well, so you find like underground chests that you have to find keys to open. But you can get later on, you can unlock a blowtorch, like an underwater blowtorch, and burn locks off of ones that are padlocked,
Nice.
which unlock holograms for like your starting area that you're in the game. You sort of walk up and select a level. So there's that. That's fun. Worth checking out, I guess, if you want a relaxed sort of experience. Although it does tire you out if you actually swim properly, because you do actually have to sort of like do the swimming motions and stuff. There are buttons to do it, but it's quicker just doing it yourself.
Nice. That looks very relaxing.
Yeah. The other one I'll skip it this week because I haven't really played too much of it, and it needs to warm to me because I think there's more there, but the other stuff I've played has been more technically sort of impressive.
Okay.
But the last one, I've been sat there for ages contemplating because I know they said, they were doing a VR mode for Hitman. And I was kind of pissed off because, like I said, I had it on the Xbox.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But then obviously they've got this one, World of Assassination. It's just all of them bundled in. So it's all the missions from the first game, second game, and third game.
Nice.
And I was like, right, screw it, I'll buy that. It's cheap. It's like 20-something quid if I order it online. And then the VR mode for it is £8. That's it.
That's not bad, is it?
To unlock the VR mode. No, it's probably one of the best £8 I've spent.
Yeah.
In theory, because it's fantastic, but there is issues with it,
Oh,
like
okay.
you get with a VR game. So going around the maps and everything looks incredible. Like you really do pretty much feel like you're in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So even in the first training area where you're in the mock-up ship and it takes you through the sort of tutorial,
Yeah.
you're in a giant sort of silo.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you look up, you can see you're in like this massive like silo, and you feel the scale
Mm-hmm.
to it as well. So completed the tutorial. That was pretty cool. The other thing I noticed with this that's actually good is all of your progress in VR or the standard version of it carries over,
That's cool.
or vice versa. And you can unlock trophies and stuff by playing it in VR.
Nice.
Whereas there's certain games that don't allow you to do that have VR modes. Resident Evil, I'm looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can play through the entire thing with all the stuff in VR.
Yeah.
All the levels from obviously the first 3 games. I think someone said there's about 21 levels in total.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Oh, and these locations are just so much fun to explore.
Mm.
So it's like because it's been ages since I've like even played it or watched someone sort of playing it originally. So the first level I went into was from Hitman 1, because I think when I did play Hitman, it was mainly the Hitman 3 stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I never played Hitman 1, I played Hitman 2.
Okay, yeah.
And obviously I started 3, but never the first one. So the first one starts off at the fashion show, stroke auction in Paris.
Okay, yeah.
And you obviously get out of the car at the start. It plays all of the third-person cutscenes in like a screen in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, when it gives the briefings on the missions and stuff like that, they're all on like a larger, bigger screen, as though you're sat in like a proper briefing room
That's
with a big
cool.
screen coming up
Mm.
about all the different bits and bobs. But yeah, got out of my limo at Paris, and I'm there outside the front of this beautiful, like, big palace building. Huge, like, waterfall in front of me going off. Or fountain,
Nice.
sorry. And then you sort of head in, and it is minging. There's people everywhere. Like, the crowd density and that is all definitely there.
Mm.
And obviously you hear the sounds as you're going through. There's like, there's like a big fashion show runway with like music pumping going on, and like a bit off to the side, and it's all got like an underground as well, like below it.
Yeah. Wow.
And during the mission, I climbed obviously to the top of the building and looked out, and you've got like all of Paris just out there. Obviously the Eiffel Tower, Notre Dame, and stuff with the sunlights that are going down because it's set in like late evening.
Nice.
It just looked awesome. And it plays really well. You stash your weapons to your side. You have a wheel. Issues I've had with it are the classic. You'll sometimes drop your item instead of holstering it.
Right, okay.
The issue I found with like interacting with objects is kind of weird. So some of them you have to kind of mimic how that item would work in the zone. Like if it's a wrench, you've got to do like a wrench motion with your controller when you're in the zone, which is like a circle that comes up. But poison, that one was weird because obviously, as you know, you can like poison drinks and food and stuff like that. So you have to basically get the poison out from a ring menu in your hand and then pick it up, and then you kind of have to move it just into that circle, but the circle doesn't light up to show that you're interacting with it for some reason, and then drop it.
Right.
But occasionally the game will be like, oh, that did nothing, and you've now dropped rat poison in front of people watching you. And they're like, oi, mate, what are you doing?
Oh, that's annoying. Yeah.
Son of a bitch. So there's annoying niggles there. There's sometimes I've run into like a weird glitch where you hide someone in a cupboard, but the cupboard doors don't actually shut.
Oh, right.
Although the cupboard is actually shut, but it displays that the doors are kind of still open and your controller's vibrating a little bit as though stuff's going on.
Right.
But then you move away from the area and it's fine. Or if you reload the save, it will be fixed.
Weird.
But yeah, the only other issue with it that I've had, which has been a bit of a bummer, is I've had a shitload of crashes.
Oh, how annoying. Okay.
Like when you're trying to load a save or something, it just crashes the game. And you're just like, And I had that happen about 4 or 5 times in a row.
Oh.
At one point. I mean, it's not too bad because you just think, fine, I can just like go back in, reload it and stuff. But it's the waiting for the game to boot up again, and then having to like log into the what's it, and then select your thing and off.
How does that feel when you're playing a VR game when everything crashes? What does it do?
Oh no, it just cuts to the shootout screen on your thing of like the dashboard where it just pings up with that something went wrong, like with this game or app. You know what I mean? And like send report screen or whatever it is that comes up.
Oh, okay.
But apparently this is something that has happened to quite a lot of people. And it's their main sort of bugbear is this is a bit of an issue with the saves. But yeah, finished that level in Paris.
Nice.
So much shit to do in these games as well. Like you'll look every time you go into one of these mission briefings, it's like the objectives. It's just mad. There's like all these different ways of killing the person.
Mm-hmm.
Give you different XP and rankings, which unlocks like more gear that you can take out with you on other missions and stuff.
Lots of replayability in these games, for sure.
Tons of replayability, and I've literally just started in the second map, which is looks like a beautiful sunny sort of like Spanish sort of like town villa-y area.
Yeah.
And every time you load into a map, you're just like, yes, what's this going to look like?
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And you can, in these games, just go off and fully explore.
Yeah, that is amazing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The one thing that they would be cool if they actually did a proper, because this is basically like a VR mod kind of thing for Hitman.
Right.
So nothing is interactive in the world that isn't interactive in the third person version of the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's glasses and things about and stuff that you can't actually grab or pick up or interact with or knock over or anything. Although it is kind of cool that you can, like, just when you go up to doors, you just push them open with your hand to walk through them and stuff. So there's a lot of cool stuff, like just creeping up behind someone, grabbing your gun and just pistol whipping them around the back of the head.
Yeah.
Put them down, change their outfit, which is just like you grab hold of it and yank it and it pulls the outfit up and you just drop it onto yourself and you switch outfits that way.
So that's Hitman World of Assassination you've picked up then? Because there's a few different Hitmans, isn't there? Like this is like a hub and you can add all the other games into it or something, or you can get like a super edition that has everything.
Yeah, because I think that's what Hitman 3 was when it first came out, wasn't it? Just sort of like kind of a downloadable episodic game.
Mm-hmm.
And then they released it physically later with obviously all of the content, and now this is like that released again, but with all the content from the original 3 games. And the best thing about it is obviously the second and the first games were both remade in the Hitman 3 engine.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So they now look as good as obviously the other ones in the game, and that also is cool because it adds the consistency of it all and makes it all feel like it's set in the same...
Yeah.
What's it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool. Like also outside of the bugbears I've been having, I've just been lost in some of those levels for like what feels like hours, just exploring, looking about. You're kind of like, what's in this room? Oh, there's a load of dining tables and stuff in this one, and it's like you're literally rooting through someone's house,
Yeah.
trying to find the next cool area. And there's all these weird side stories going on as well that I don't really remember from like the original Hitman 2 when I played it.
Mm-hmm.
Where you go into an area and it's like, oh, so and so, this person is due for a meeting here. Do you want to follow this story lead, which will then lead you on to another way of possibly taking out the targets?
Yeah.
The throwing mechanic in it is pretty cool. If you've literally got an item in your hand, you just literally throw in the direction you kind of want and let go at the right moment, and you'll just throw shit and knock people unconscious from quite a distance away.
Yeah. That's cool. Nice.
Haven't mucked around with things like lockpicks or anything like that just yet. We'll have to see how much fun and games they are.
Nice.
But yeah, if you've got PSVR and you have Hitman, I'd say this is definitely worth just experiencing what it's like to actually play in that world.
Yeah.
Personally. Because that's what I always liked with certain games when you had like the VR options. I was always like, fuck yeah, I want to explore that world in first person to see what that looks like.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
£8 for like 21.
That's mad. Yeah,
Mad.
that's absolutely mad.
But yeah, you obviously need to own Hitman World of Assassination first, or at least the iteration of it that has the 3 full packs.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Anything else, guys? Or shall I go to the questions?
Go to the questions.
All right, sweet. There hasn't been loads, but there's been a few. So, Hetro says, can Webby stop suggesting games? I've bought 3 this year. He suggested, and I have a wedding to pay for. Well, good luck with your wedding, and I haven't recommended any new games this week, so you're safe. So you're all good, mate. Tag asks about, he's got a Switch question. Don't know if we've really covered this or not. Thoughts on price, specs, games, the key cards from the perspective of someone with a single console versus someone with everything.
I think he's saying, like, could you just have a Nintendo Switch 2 and nothing else?
No.
I always thought the Switch was something you'd have an Xbox or a PS5, and the Switch would be like a companion to that. Do you know, it'd be like an extra thing. I don't think you could just have a Switch 2.
No.
That's how much you play it.
Well, yeah, I suppose you could, but I'm just like, people our age, I don't... If you were a proper gamer, I don't think you'd just have a Switch 2, would you? Or a Switch.
That's more of a casual device.
I think most
Nintendo
people would probably have something else, even if it was just a PC.
Yeah.
With it just having something that you could take out. But
yeah. Other question from Picard 999. This is quite a long one, so I want to read it out. It's quite interesting. It says, why all the hate for the Switch 2? Inflation shows it's actually underpriced compared to previous console launches. It's 1080p at 120 FPS and 4K 60 attached to the dock. It has a latest gen LCD screen bigger than its baby brother, including HDR. It's got a slew of great first and third party titles, 24 at launch. You could argue £70 and £80 games are expensive, but they're not when inflation is factored in. You can pack in Mario Kart for £30, and history shows you'll be playing that for the next 8 years as it's enhanced and expanded. That's value for money. They've innovated with the mouse, video, and chat features too. Frame gen and upscaling really are going to make seismic difference next gen, and the Switch 2 is the first hint of what's possible. People seem all too quick to bash a machine they've not got hands on. Nintendo's online service, which is the cheapest by far, is going to be bolstered with GameCube classics, and subscribers will get next-gen updates for their favourite Switch 1 games too. Anyone who has Switch 1 games on PC knows how great those will look at 4K 60. I can't think of anything more Nintendo could have done, but Mona's gonna moan. Yeah, okay. Interesting take, I guess.
We kind of covered most of that.
On the system is this physical games issue.
It's just the little details. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all been very positive on the machine itself. It looks great, and the features it's going to have are great, but it's just the price of the software, as we've already said, and I don't think that inflation argument really holds water when you're talking about digital and stuff as well. So,
yeah. I mean, we talked a lot about it, didn't we?
Yeah. I just wanted to read the question because he'd made the effort to write all that. So, thank you very much, Picard.
I think we talked about his question throughout the first hour, so I think, yeah.
That's all the questions. So I think on that note, we've been recording for 2.5 hours. I think it's about time we end the show. Pretty much a switch to special, really, for the most part. But it's all good. So from all of us here, it's been awesome. Thank you very much. And it's been great. So we will hopefully see you all next week. Twitch.tv/Webby360G. 7:30ish. We'll decide in the week. Be there. And so from all of us here, it's been awesome. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.